Oh yeah. I was convincing real well.
Did you see the overtime? 3 times how much? Yeah. It's 588,000. Yep.
Oh, thank you.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Big Bear Fire Authority to order September 9, 2025 at 5 p.m. Could we please stand and have a moment of silence, and I'll ask Director Russo to lead us in the pledge.
Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chardell, could we please have roll call?
Of course. Director Herrick?
Here.
Director Hicks?
Here.
Director Melnick? Here. Director Putz?
Here.
Vice Chair B. Rowe?
Here.
Director J. Rowe?
Here.
Director Russo?
Here.
Director Walsh?
Here.
Director Ziegler?
Here.
Board Chair Segovia?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, announcements, we have none. Let's move on to presentations. We have the recent promotion and badge pinning of firefighter Clayton Lutovich. Did I say that right? Or did I crush it?
That's pretty close.
Okay.
Clay Lukovich was hired on November 5th, 2023 as an AO EMT, an ambulance operator. During his time with the organization, it's been absolutely a joy to have. He's got a tremendous work ethic, always smiling, always looking for something else to do. He's been nothing but a joy to have. And today is my honor to offer him a badge and pin him as one of our new firefighters in the organization. As has been tradition, previously the fire chief would take the opportunity to pin the first badge. I'm passing that off as the employee has earned their position in this organization. Tonight, Clayton has offered his girlfriend Britt, who's here with us, to pin his badge on. My honor to read off the oath of office to Clayton. Clayton, please raise your right hand and you'll repeat after me.
Yes, sir.
I state your name.
I, Clayton McCavish,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
to the Constitution of the United States and to the Constitution of California.
That I take this obligation freely,
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
discharge the duties of which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Clayton.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, Clayton.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to Fire Prevention Week 2025 proclamation. Chief Wagner.
Thank you, Chair Segovia. It brought to my attention, especially over the last year in fire prevention, that we never really made too much ado about Fire Prevention Week. This is something that stems from the National Fire Protection Association. And usually they kind of pick a theme. Where are they seeing the most problems, disasters, incidences, emergencies throughout our country? They get that data from National Fire Incident Reporting Systems that agencies around the country report on. Lithium-ion batteries, I'm sure as everybody is aware, have become quite a bit of a problem. If you're not getting them from the underwriter's lab or other reputable locations, they present a risk. Unapproved or unsafe charging systems, along with appropriate recycling methods or disposal methods of those batteries is all a problem that we face. I thought it'd be a good thing for us to get those positive messages out this year, and this proclamation will proclaim October 5th through the 11th of this year as Fire Prevention Week throughout the Big Bear Valley. And with that, we will be putting up a number of just informational flyers, posters, brochures, etc., around the station, around the valley. And then we will cap this off with a chili cook-off at Station 282 out in Bear City on Saturday, October the 11th at 4 o'clock. Personnel from the organization will be making their best chili. Public is welcome to come in, look at all of our fire safety messaging, which is also going to apply to the wintertime. Things that we commonly see up here, appropriate storage of firewood, how to get rid of hot ashes, changing smoke detector batteries, etc., along with lithium-ion battery safety. So we invite everybody out to the station to join that with us.
Thank you.
What time is it? 4 o'clock. Thank you.
All right, moving on to Director's General Announcements. Does anybody have an announcement at this point in time? No? All right, I would just like to say something that I had an inquiry last night into our agenda and why certain items were on the agenda and what was in closed session and what wasn't. I just want to say that I did not have any input this month into the agenda, so I saw it the same as you all did. So I just wanted to say that. All right, moving on to general public comment. Daniel Gabranson.
I was kind of proud of all of you last month, able to speak about cuts, trimming, doing things that made sense. You know, eventually taxpayers get tired of no matter what tax it is. Tax after tax, it's not going to last forever. As that old Thatcher gal said, when you run out of other people's money, things start to dry up and things start to change quick. Just like when I bought a camera shop and thought, oh, Kodak will never go out of business. 2 years later, there was nothing left of it. Things change, things happen, even here in this valley. You can see the I can see the fall of real estate now. So you guys were talking about making cuts, trimming things. I thought, wow, we might figure out something here. And then all of a sudden now it flip-flop into, oh, let's do Melrose, which is still a tax, and it can last 20 to 40 years or longer, because we seem to have a bunch of them. Let's make up another tax, use whatever abuse of the taxpayer we can use. Let's hang them upside down and shake them, I think is what should be done. How long are you guys gonna just keep spending money, not figuring out what to do? I know, let's do some lawfare and have to get more attorneys, because we can't figure it out without getting more attorneys. Was that a bell? I'll 50 you. So I just try to figure out, now when's this well gonna run dry? Spend $70, $100 million to get replenished, we can replenish it? No. You can't just keep doing this. Last month it sounded good. Oh, great, we're gonna make cuts, we're gonna do this or that. You know, I think part of this is we bought millions of dollars worth of fire equipment. Maybe it was out of reach. Maybe it was bought because of Snow Summit putting pressure on people because they're gonna build a huge hotel up there, and we're getting screwed here by the public, because it sure looks that way to me, that we're getting the shaft. They got the gold mine and we're getting the shaft.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Patrice Duncan.
I made the shaft already.
I made that up.
Shaft, yes.
Good evening. What gives Big Bear Lake City Council members the right to withhold $2 million of fire tax money lawfully collected from the city of Big Bear Lake's property owners and developers on their annual property tax bill? You will soon realize that there is no inequality of financial contribution by the JPA parties, and that your actions are leading to unintended consequences. I reached out to Don Rao regarding the controversial percentage difference of ad valorem tax between the JPA parties. I was put in contact with County Fire Chief Dan Muncy, who explained that each agency's tax percentages are governed by tax rate areas established by the State Board of Equalization. Taxpayer funding for fire protection services is not discretionary. It is structurally mandated under California law. As an addendum to Prop 13, the legislature enacted AB 8 in 1979, which permanently established how property tax revenues are distributed among cities, counties, and special districts, including fire departments. Under AB 8, each agency receives a fixed share of property tax revenue. Withholding or diverting these funds violates the structure of AB 8 and undermines public safety obligations that you all have. Big Bear Lake taxpayers expect their contributions to support life-saving services not to be rerouted or politicized. If Big Bear Lake is somehow able to withhold these funds, they can only be used for fire safety. The city does not have the ability at this time to provide fire safety services to your community. Big Bear Lake property owners need to know the risk that the Big Bear Lake City Council is taking on their behalf. Your reduction of funding will cause all 3 stations to brown out multiple times a month. This means each station will be periodically downsized, downstaffed, and Big Bear Lake residents and visitors will enjoy upwards of a 20-minute response time for medical aid and structure defense. This station here in Big Bear Lake will not be exempt from downstaffing. The board has a legal and ethical duty to ensure that our fire department receives their full allocation from both parties of the JPA as mandated by law. On a personal note, Kendi, Perry, Rick, Randy, and Chuck, I find it despicable that you knowingly caused the purposeful destruction of this Big Bear Fire Department. You will be putting our firefighters and EMS at risk including your own stepson, Randy, not to mention residents and visitors. For 7 years, I've witnessed the same conversation about how to increase revenue. Now, when your community needs you most, you decide to withhold funds. I hope you all can sleep at night when our town burns down. Shame on all of you.
If I could just make a clarification. The city council isn't withholding, the Big Bear Lake City Council isn't withholding any dollars. Fire Protection District gets money that they are holding for fire protection. So the city of Big Bear Lake is not reallocating funds that go to fire protection. We are figuring out how those funds are being spent at the Fire Protection District in accordance with the JPA, in accordance with our obligations of making sure that the residents are taken care of. I just want to make it clear that the city council is not doing anything.
Thank you, Director Melnick. All right, so moving on to Chief's report.
Proud to announce that we have our online payment system up and running for AB 38s. And administrative staff is also working to provide those same online payment opportunities for commercial inspections, rushed AB 38s, fire sprinkler, plan review, and construction requirements reports, also known as fire letters. End goal is to provide all requests as an online fillable form, along with the online payment system, just to allow people to be able to take care of the stuff at home and not to be constantly driving around to write a check or provide some payment reports. After about 5 years, we have now finally received our COVID-19 reimbursement, the total of $27,461.66. Our board secretary, Cheryl Smith, sent in the first request letters in November of 2020. So it's been a slow process to get this back. So thank you to her for her work in getting this handled. The 2023 winter storm reimbursement, those processes are on and going. Originally started under the former Assistant Chief Mike Mulvey. That'll be an ongoing process. We will definitely keep you up to date on all that. We're anticipating upwards of $90,000 in reimbursements for that. That's in my report.
Thank you. Do any of the directors have any questions of Chief Wagner at this time? All right. Moving on to Finance Officer's report, we have none. Let's move on to the Fire Authority consent calendar. We have FA1, FA2, FA3. Does anybody have an item that they would like to pull from the consent calendar?
I got a couple of questions on FA1 if we can. Don't know if necessarily to pull them off.
So you just want to ask some questions?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right. On Chief, on the line or check number 18605 and 18606, those are written to, let me scroll down, to Big Bear CSD for TC Electric. Can you tell me what that is and why are we paying CSD for TC Electric? What it means?
I apologize, I'm trying to.
It's page 10.
Training center.
What's the trainings?
413 and 368.
I believe those to be the power bills for the Paradise Training Center yard, our classroom and facilities that we have located at the Paradise Training Center.
And we don't have a training center here in Big Bear Lake, right?
No, sir.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's give it to Al. Al will second. Roll call, please, Chardell.
Of course. Excuse me, Director Ziegler,
Al.
Al.
Yes.
Director Herrick.
Aye.
Director Hicks,
Aye.
Director Melnick,
Aye.
Director Puds,
Aye.
Vice Chair B Rowe,
Aye.
Director J Rowe,
Aye.
Director Russo,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
Board Chair Segovia.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All Right, moving on into new business. Let's see, Big Bear Fire Authority, discussion items, proposed resolution to adopt the fiscal year 2025-2026 Big Bear Fire Authority budget.
Yes, ma'am, and I apologize and I take responsibility for the lack of the information coming out. There were some unanticipated occurrences that happened over the last couple of weeks. I apologize, I take full responsibility for not having that information. On the August 25th Finance Committee meeting, we met to discuss, as directed by the full board, potential changes to the budget and areas where potentially save money. You have the additional information on recommendations in item number 4. This is a loose sheet of paper at your desk. These were recommendations made by our board chair. And so what we did was just take those just to confirm dollar values of those. One of those, number 1, being the removal of the battalion chief's take-home vehicle at a savings of $12,428.29. And that is based on their annual mileage, total maintenance costs since inception of those vehicles or ownership of them, and an average fuel consumption rate based on miles driven per year. Another idea is to eliminate an admin position that could potentially save, depending on the personnel, $128,000 or $98,000 based on the accounting tech or the fire prevention administrative assistant. To eliminate a Me Too clause for administrative staff, and this is just giving an example. If a 3% raise was given to labor, that would be a savings of approximately $20,000. Along with an administrative salary reduction of 5%, that would be a savings of $31,000. There were also ideas that were laid out by myself during that committee meeting that are not on this sheet, but I could go over them with you at any point. It would be the removal of, or the pushing forward again of the roof replacement at Station 282. That was a budgeted amount of $150,000. Removal of the health retirement account that the department pays for our ambulance operator employees with a savings of $75,000. And there would be a hold on filling 2 current firefighter vacancies, meaning the position still exists, we just do not backfill them with overtime. That's a savings of $138,182 per year per position for a total of $276,364. Along with the utilization of brownouts. Now, many of these cuts that are being considered are being done in order to, of course, eliminate as many brownouts as we can, because it is something that none of us want to see. What we've gotten it down to is a potential total of 109 days that an engine could be browned out in this valley, with a total savings of $440,000 based on an estimate of $4,050 per day to fill an engine company with overtime personnel. All these potential cuts, when added up, total $2.1 million, $1,721 from our budget. That allows us to operate balanced. With that, I leave it up to the group for discussion. The staff recommends the board do consider these changes and or adopting our budget or amending.
Could I also ask, is the 128,000 annually and the 98,000, is that fully burdened with insurance and everything?
I believe that's fully
Okay.
burdened rate. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Just another question, just going back to the battalion chief vehicles.
Sure.
So that's, so that fuel and maintenance, but not depreciation.
Correct. They did not consider the depreciation value of that.
I think that's what maybe made the difference.
And I can get that for you, Director Herrick, as well.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a couple
Okay.
questions if I could.
We'll take Chuck and then we'll take Larry next.
We're paying, help me out here, $48,000 a year for lease and renting. What are we leasing and what are we renting or renting for 48 grand a year?
The $48,000 is the lease amount for the Baldwin Lake Station, which is direct pass-through, as CAL FIRE ultimately pays us for that value. So we pay it up front and they pay us on the backside.
So somewhere in our revenue we can show that 48,000 coming in?
Yes, sir.
Okay, at some point, if you can show that to me, I appreciate it.
I will. You can see it.
Okay, next question, and I think Perry has brought this up before. This reimbursement to CSD street lighting of $39,500. Why are we paying this?
There's a recommendation made by our auditor to have it written one of two ways. Either less the streetlight expense, return to the CSD of $39,500, or the CSD tax revenue less the streetlight expense at $6,249,390. The auditors prefer to see the two line items instead of netting them together. And any questions about this can be further directed to the CSDs to why they're retaining the funds for the lighting.
What is the street light? I mean, what are we paying for?
My understanding is upkeep and maintenance, bulbs, replacement, et cetera, of the streetlights out in the CSD area.
So we're paying to keep the lights on the streets in CSD from the fire authority? Is that what?
My knowledge, yes, sir.
Where is that in our charter? Is that our responsibility?
Those questions I would direct to the CSD at this point.
Okay. I'm thinking that's one of the things we need to take out of this budget. I mean, I don't see the fire authority paying for the lights over in Big Bear Lake, so I'm not sure why we're paying for the lights over in CSD. There is, I'm not sure I understand, someone more business savvy can help me with this. We write off $8,500 on ambulance membership. Why are we writing this off?
I believe those are the amount of people that are actually transported that have the ambulance membership. As part of that membership, the fire authority takes on anything uncovered by insurance. I believe that is the written off amount as their protection by this plan.
So you're saying that's what it's costing us to transport these folks?
As the offset of the undue revenues from the insurance companies for their transport.
Yeah, maybe the auditor can help us. There's got to be a better way of outlining that as to what it really is rather than an offset. The other area was on the ambulance for overtime. I'm really concerned when I look at the amount of overtime that we are paying for the ambulance service. It's $588,845 a year. That's almost 50% of the totals of the salaries that we pay the ambulance folks. One, why is it so high? And two, how much of that overtime is because we are still doing interfacility transfers?
Vast amount of that calculation is based on the fact that as non-safety employees, they do not qualify for the FLSA or Fair Labor Standards Act, which the suppression personnel do. So there are components in the pay of the safety members that are calculated in and figured into their overtime based on a 56-hour work week. The standard calculation for the ambulance operators is non-safety, goes with the traditional overtime beyond 40 hours. They're still working 56-hour work weeks. However, once they hit the 40 hours, which occurs 40 hours into a 48-hour shift, during that pay period, the rest becomes overtime for that week.
Why?
It's not right.
Well, no, I mean, it's definitely not right. I mean, the fact that we're paying 15 to 16 hours of overtime a week just doesn't make any sense to me. That's a lot of money going out. There's got to be a better way of managing that resource. And again, I would like to know at some point how much of that is because we're having to do interfacility transfers. Now, we may guarantee 56 hours a week, but when we're having people have to go off the hill for 8 hours, I too see that that's having some impact on our overtime if folks have to stay on shift just to cover because there's a unit missing. So we need to figure out how to better manage that.
The overtime for, late or end of shift crew, to my knowledge, does not result in too much overtime. So, I mean, it's gonna be a pretty small portion of this. Most of the transfers that are taken off the hill occur during the shift and does not lead to additional overtime costs.
What would it take to eliminate this ridiculous amount of overtime that we're seeing? Forgetting about the 56 hours here for a minute. How many more people would we have to hire, more staff? What would we have to do to have these folks work a 40-hour shift a week?
I'd have to look into it to give you an exact hour calculation for them as far as the coverage is concerned, but we'll definitely look into that and I'll get you the answer to it.
Okay. And I'm curious about fire prevention, the salary. We show a salary there of $237,430. Who makes up that fire prevention salary? Who is that?
I have to look into that one as well. I believe that would be our fire prevention inspector and that would be his fully burdened rate. But again, I'd have to double check to confirm.
And that's the only thing he does is just fire prevention?
100% of the time.
Does it include the clerk?
And they're also the admin for fire.
Yes,
that.
yeah, there's the prevention specialist. that
So
is
I
our
think
admin
it's those
assistant.
two roles.
Those two roles? Because I know on some of these things, there's a cross between how much of someone's salary is going against one item versus another. And I'm just wanting to make sure that if we're saying 237,000, that amount is strictly related to that one person and he or she does nothing else other than fire prevention.
Both the prevention personnel do nothing but prevention.
Okay. And my next question, I guess, will come on later with this.
Okay.
Russo.
Could I ask Luke, do the firefighters, do they do any fire prevention? Or is it just the one employee doing fire prevention?
No, he's more specific to the hazard abatement portion of it, and they're currently conducting the 1205 inspections on all the hotels, motels, and lodges, and they also assist with the operational permit required inspections of the businesses as well.
Okay, thank you. So Larry, and then I'll have Randy ask a question next. So Director Walsh.
Before the question I had, let me give a quick and dirty response about the lighting. When the district was formed in 1966, they had water, sewer, power, water, sewer, trash, electric lights, parks district. And it's not spelled out to an exact percent. So what our finance officer has done is charge for the electric bill and any charges from the power company, which once a year might include a bulb. So that's where that comes from, and that's our auditor had the same opinion. If the county gives us $100 and we spend $5 of that on electric, then they wanted us to distinguish what came in and what went out, where it goes. Now, I don't know if Kristen is held to the same standard. She could instead say $95 came here and not address the $5. It's a case of how you identify it.
I'm sorry, Larry, that still doesn't make any sense to me. Why we're paying for the lights in Sugarloaf and out of this budget. I mean, it shouldn't be in the budget at all.
That's what I'm saying is it's a bookkeeping technique. If you don't want her to itemize that, that would be the way to do it, is not acknowledge what the county sent to the CSD, which then passes it on to the fire authority. You just.
And I think that's the appropriate way, because when we look at operating expenses from the fire authority, based on the JPA, they're paid 50-50 from Big Bear Lake and the CSD, which means that those lights are paid 50% by Big Bear Lake if it is listed as an operating expense in the budget of the fire authority. So if it came out beforehand, then you're paying. If it's in the budget, that means the people of Big Bear Lake are paying 50% or more, depending on how much we give versus how much CSD gives, to pay for those lights. So it just doesn't make sense that it is listed as an operating expense. You should withhold that money, and it just means that the fire authority gets less. But it is not an operating expense of the fire authority that should be split between CSD and Big Bear Lake.
I agree, and without knowing what standards Kristen is held to for GASB, Government Accounting Standards Board or Bureau, I don't know, she may be required to do it this way. I don't know. And if that's all it would take is simply not to count the in and the out and simply only show the leftover, fine.
But Larry, you're getting property tax separate and apart from whatever is required for the fire authority. Why then is the fire authority, why are you putting money into quote unquote the fire authority to turn around and then pay some portion of that back to pay for the lights? You don't have enough money coming in on general revenues, operating revenues at CSD to pay for the lights down there?
General operating revenues would be water, sewer, and trash. Those are fees. Those are not taxes.
But does the CSD get straight property tax?
It comes here.
That's what's coming here.
We get nothing else. Nothing else.
Aren't you asking, does property tax money cover the lights, I think is that what you were
And
asking?
it goes out before we send the money over here.
Then why is it in our budget?
I don't know that. I can't answer that.
That means we're paying it, but that means that Big Bear Lake is paying. If it's in our budget here, Big Bear Lake is paying for it.
I don't know why it's in the budget, but our accountant takes it out before the money is sent to the fire authority.
Then we're subsidizing.
Then, yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah.
Well, Larry, if it's in the budget, it's being subsidized by the fire authority.
We don't know why it's there. That's a Kristen answer.
As I'm suggesting, it is simply an accounting technique. I don't know, but I can tell you that no, you, the Fire Protection District, are not paying half of that.
You're not.
And that's what I say. If Kristen can lawfully change her technique, fine, then do it.
Well, it sounds like it's not being, I'm not going to say whether it's lawfully being done. I'm not a tax expert, but if the money's not coming in and we're listing it as an expense, then it seems like that's an issue.
Agreed?
Or if it's coming in and then we're paying it out, there should be a corresponding payment to offset it.
Revenue coming in to offset it.
Right, I mean, if it's just a bookkeeping thing, then it would come in here and go out there.
Right, if
And
it's a
you'd be able
bookkeeping
to point
technique.
to it and say, yeah, it nets out to zero.
Luke, can we just remove it from the budget?
Been asking
We'll
that
do
for
that.
like
That's
four
what I
months.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I think
4
we're going
months.
that direction.
Yeah, Perry has been asking that
For
for
like
like
4
4 months, so. All right, so, I know.
Okay. Then the other thing would be, we have been talking for months about the idea of taxes. However, there's never any credit given for the fact that the ambulance brings in, according to this,
3.6 or 7.
3.7 million. So to me, if you take the 3.7 million from the ambulance and added it to the parcel tax and the ad valorem for the CSD, you get closer to 9 to 10 million. And so to me, that's how it should be counted. And my rationale there is the Fire Protection District has no ambulance authority. LAFCO has never given that, as far as I know. In terms of the fire authority, you don't even have a LAFCO number, therefore it's never been granted to the fire authority either.
Madam Chairman, before we get too far off subject, that's actually not the agenda subject today. It has to do with the budget. Eventually, I think we will get to that subject, and I hope we do get to that subject, but it just kind of makes our conversation more convoluted because it's not going to really adjust. It won't adjust any of the numbers that we're talking about.
But it does matter to when you say whether the CSD is not fulfilling their responsibilities or it's not
Larry, I
meeting.
totally understand,
Okay.
and there can be arguments, strong arguments made both directions, but it's not on the agenda for today.
Well, then just send the ambulance orders back to CSD and the heck with it, and let's get out of the business.
Right, I mean, because I do believe that Jeff, before he left, presented us with a budget that gave CSD the credit for the ambulance and all the expenses went toward BBFA,
I mean,
right?
if you look at our budget, ambulance actually loses $567,000 a year, so I'm not sure how there's a credit to CSD for something that actually costs the fire authority $567,000 a year.
Mr. Herrick does not want to discuss that, so I won't take it.
Happy
No,
not
that
to
is
discuss it.
appropriate, Larry. Actually, that's very appropriate if we're talking about the loss indicated on the budget, but how we divide things up is a whole nother subject that we're gonna really have to save once we get more data in.
And I could back
And I
up
think we'll have
to
a
explain
robust
the
discussion.
rationale, but you don't
Once we
want
get
to
more
discuss
data.
that, so we won't.
I want to be clear because it's a big rabbit hole that we'll be going down.
Well,
It's
if
not
you,
a-
if you
it's
want to
nothing
go by
do with the
property
report.
tax revenue, it shows all of it in operations. It doesn't show any in ambulance. But it's collected from the taxpayers in ambulance.
And it's clearly our contribution, part of our contribution.
So Chief Wagner,
We'll go down that rabbit hole.
okay, could I ask, we were told that Chief Willis never finalized the process for transferring over the ambulance. It was just something that he didn't do, and that it had to be finalized by December 31st of this year, or that something was gonna happen. So is that a true statement?
That I don't know. We talked about this in, I think it was in May. And at that point, there was a question from representatives from the Fire Protection District side whether or not they wanted to be involved in it. And so I was basically just looking for direction as far as how to go about that. If you want me to just find that answer out for you, then I will do that.
Because I think at one of our meetings, Director Walsh actually brought it up, that it needed to be finalized by December 31st of this year. So, you know, or something, like I say, was gonna happen, so.
I will find out all that information.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to ask your question, Director Pets?
Thank you. So, Chief, I need your help to make sure I'm following along. I'll let you get your thought down.
Yes, sir.
No? All good. So, this budget that is presented here, this one right here, that shows $1 million, I assume, going to reserves.
That was the original draft budget, that's correct.
Okay, that is the original one that, as I'm following, is the same one that was presented back in June?
That's correct.
Okay. And did the ad hoc committee, the finance ad hoc committee, recommend that as well recently?
The ad hoc finance committee,
Finance.
that's what we're talking about, had provided suggestions as to ways to cut the dollars. And I had thrown out some of my recommendations as well. And when we had left that meeting, it was to bring it back for discussions for the full board as to whether or not to amend the budget, go with recommended cuts and reductions, et cetera.
Okay, so this proposed budget that we have listed here, though, what I'm trying to understand, does not reflect any recent conversation.
No, this is the original budget that we have seen 6 times. Tonight is the 6th time that we have looked at it. I went back and checked all the meetings, and we have looked at this same budget 6 times.
If you go back to the committee reports, you'll see the recommendations for cuts in the budget.
Beyond this,
From the
though.
fund, beyond this, yeah.
Not included in here.
It's not in, this is the originally proposed budget, as I understand it.
Okay, I just want to make sure I am following. Okay, thank you.
And also, we did talk about at the financial stability meeting that we would not fund, that was an easy one, that we would not fund the extra money into the reserve. So that is one of the items that we discussed.
Okay, and then one other question, Chief. Have you to date not received any money you expect or you need from Fire Protection District?
Not to my knowledge, not aware of anything that I'm missing.
Okay. Director Ziegler?
I have a question. I've been up here since 1974. And what the hell do we want to have the street lights anyhow? We don't, I don't need them. I sure as hell don't need them. So who has the authority telling us that we have to have street lights? If there's nobody, a new law that requires us to have street lights, I don't give a damn whether it's on the CSD side or the Big Bear Lake side. I'm saying, why do we do it in the first damn place? We don't need the damn street lights. And if there's nobody or no ruling somewhere in the state or in the federal government that tells us that we have to have them, then get the hell rid of them. So my recommendation, eliminate the damn street lights.
Well, thank you for that, Al, but I think that that would be something that would have to be decided on the CSD side, not here at our fire meeting.
Why the CSD?
Because they're your streetlights.
Yeah, they're the lights in that area of the CSD, not the whole of the valley.
Who pays your lights over here?
I would imagine the city does when they pay their electric bill.
No, I'm just saying, if it's something we can delete, that's a good one, because it ain't worth a damn.
Right, it's just not up to this board to decide to do that. It would be the
Then why
CSD.
are we discussing it on this board?
Because it's an item that's in the fire department budget.
Yeah, okay, I'll go along with that.
Okay. All right, is there any
I
other?
just have one other question, piggybacking off of Chuck's questions about overtime. Does the overtime for ambulance as well as the other ones include, so if a firefighter covers an ambulance, are they paid at the ambulance rate or are they paid as if they're a firefighter? And if a captain covers as a firefighter, are they paid as a firefighter or are they paid as a captain? And how much of our overtime and the large amount of overtime is because people are being paid for a job that they're not doing?
There's only one firefighter position that's assigned to an ambulance that's here at Station 281. If that firefighter takes off, they're backfilled by another firefighter. The ambulance operators are not backfilled by firefighters. We don't do that. For now, people are able to work out of rank, but there are other discussions that are going to be had as far as how to maximize savings with our budget. And so we are looking to remove working out of rank capacities.
Yeah, because I'd just be curious as to what working out of rank does to the overtime budget.
Sure, I can get you a calendar today, update on that.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Okay.
another question. Chief, again, to make sure I'm following along, when we look at, what page it is, 42 of 73 in the PDF, but it's the full-time equivalent by classification that has all the job positions, right? This is reflective of the budget with the $1 million to reserves, correct? These are
Correct.
tied together.
Correct.
And if I'm following this along, the only reduction in force is not having a fire marshal. Is that it?
Assistant Chief Fire Marshal is correct.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the only person that's losing a job, or I mean, that's not even filled now, but that's the only impact on personnel if we were to adopt the budget that's presented here. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct. And the budget is left as is because it was simply, I didn't have somebody amend the budget prior to this meeting.
Okay.
Between the finance committee and today. So I didn't come in here to advocate for a particular budget or another, it's to simply present the recommended changes or reductions and have direction from the board. And any changes that this board directs me to input, we'll input those and present those.
Okay, so again, to make sure I'm clear, and maybe for others' benefit, if we adopt the budget that's listed here, it's one we've seen many times, and it reflects $1 million going to reserves, and it reflects basically the loss of an assistant fire chief position, and that's it in terms of staff.
That's correct.
Okay. All the talk about brownout and all that would be additional impact based on additional cuts beyond this budget,
That's correct.
correct?
The additional cuts that are reflected on the item FA4, the additional information would reduce the budget by an additional $1 million.
Okay,
So it'd take us to, as I said, approximately $2.1 million of 2.1,721.
okay. And as I recall, because this goes back many months, on the fire protection district side, we had talked about not making any changes to our funding level this year to get through the budget. I mean, I have notes on it where we had talked about and proposed, let's just get this budget adopted, we'll fund it as we have been, and then we'll deal later with disparity issues and all of that. So
Absent reserves, I think, right? Absent funding reserves in this budget.
I'm not, either I don't remember that or I'm not following you on that.
No,
I don't think
that
we
was one of the,
Okay,
On that subject.
got
Okay. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm following what we're at. Okay, thank you.
Can we, just for clarification, can we go over the recommended reductions again, just so I can make sure I have them clearly? Well, I have this, so are we saying that the total cost savings for the AC, oh, that's the assistant chief's position.
yeah,
But there's no total on here for the total amount, so.
no. So I think Chief Wagner said between the not funding the reserves, correct?
Correct.
And this list, it's a total of $2.1 million.
That's
reduction.
Correct.
Right. So, okay.
But that was my whole point of asking the questions before. Assuming we're considering this budget that's presented to us, we're not doing that, Chuck.
But
We're not doing.
But you would have been presented with a different budget. It's just Luke has not had the help to do the work
Right.
that the finance committee.
Right, but we don't have that budget before us right now.
But
Right.
we can make a motion from the floor that the reductions as recommended by the finance committee be included as a part of this budget, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this budget would be amended to reflect whatever reductions we deem appropriate.
Why don't we go down the list of the recommendations from the finance committee that was recommended to move forward without objection, the full committee for discussion.
Yes.
Would you like me to go down the list for you? sir? Okay. So it's gonna be the elimination of take-home vehicles from the battalion chiefs. It's 3 vehicles, estimated total of $12,428.29. Item 2 can disregard it. It's a change in the status of the board secretary that would add some money in. And I've taken that into consideration with all my calculations. There's a reduction in an administrative position, depending upon which position, could be a fully burdened amount of $128,000 annually or $98,000 annually, depending upon if it's the accounting technician at $128,000 or the fire prevention administrative assistant at $98,000. Elimination of the Me Too clause, so if labor were to receive a raise, that would not go to administrative staff, and this is purely for an example of the amount. If a 3% raise went to labor, we'd see approximately $20,000 savings by not giving that to administration. It'd also be a salary reduction of 5% to the administrative staff, totaling $31,000. And then the addition of the cuts that I had presented, or the suggested areas of cuts, were to push the roof replacement project at Station 282 out in Bear City. It's a total of $150,000. Removal or elimination of the health retirement account to our ambulance operators at $75,000. Forgoing for now the backfilling of 2 firefighter positions. The total of those combined are $276,364. That in addition to 109 engine brownouts, approximately $440,000 for the total. Takes us to a grand total, and this includes the $1,019,000 that was in the June presented budget of $2.1,001,721.
Say that number one more time, please.
$2,101,721.
So 2.1 million. Correct. For just this.
That was for this and my changes, which was the roof project in Station 2.
Okay.
The elimination of the HRA, the health retirement account for AOs.
Okay.
And not backfilling 2 firefighter positions that are currently vacant.
Okay, and that would be on top of the $1 million here.
That's correct. So you
that
add
would
up
be
that million overage to the million in savings. No, it's 2.1 total. So the million that was in the.
So this is just $1 million.
This is $1 million.
Okay, so 2.1 total
2.1 total.
would be to the bottom line.
That bottom line, and then add that to this, yes, $2.1 million freed up. That would be out of the revenue side, and we would be balanced with the proposed changes. Which is not backfilling the assistant fire chief position, 2 firefighter positions, the elimination of administrative position, browning out of engines, reduction in salaries, elimination of raises for administrative staff, and elimination of the battalion chief vehicles for technical purposes.
Okay. Any reduction in force?
Just the daily brownouts based upon time off used, or sick, injury, administrative leave, etc.
Okay, but no reduction in force.
The positions would remain there, they just would not be covered.
So people would work less.
It'd be less overtime.
Less overtime.
Okay.
What's the cost of the 2 firefighters if we were to hire them? 276.
The overtime is 276, 364. That's to cover the overtime. The fully burdened amount. I have to do some math for you here.
Because they would be step 1 of firefighters, right?
That's correct. I believe it's approximately 186,000 just off the top of my head each.
So if we were to hire those 2 firefighters, what would that do to the overtime?
Depends on time off usage. However, new hires start with no accumulated hours unless they transfer it over from the ambulance operator side, and then there'd be a calculation in that would occur as well. They're usually fairly low hours when they come across, depending upon their tenure with the organization. But usually probationary employees do not take much time off because they're more focused on passing their probation than taking time off.
So that would benefit us as far as a reduction in overtime?
More than likely it would. There's no guarantees, injuries, et cetera. Could happen.
Yeah. Now, I fundamentally have a problem with reducing someone's salary. That just doesn't stand well with me. But as I look to the other items here, I really don't have an issue with those. When we say 109 brownouts, are we just talking 1 shift shutdown essentially every day, every other day or something like that? Or what are we talking?
So the brownout would be looking at an engine company, and this is where, sometimes you don't know what it's going to be. Dependent upon injuries, administrative leaves, vacations, et cetera. Typically the way the brownout works is if you had a captain off at a given day, the same day an engineer is off, and the same day a firefighter is off. Could be throughout the jurisdiction. You would then select an engine company, you would take that captain, put him in the vacancy for the captain, so he's getting paid his normal time, as opposed to hiring in an overtime. The engineer moves to the engineer vacancy, the firefighter vacancy. And then you have an engine that is not covered, however, you've eliminated a captain, an engineer, and a firefighter's overtime pay for that day, approximately $4,050.
What kind of impact does that have on our response time?
It's going to definitely impact it. Depends upon where the calls are at a given point. But it's reducing our service by 3 responders wherever they're at.
We were presented, one of the budgets that we were presented with was closing Sugarloaf completely. So I saw this as a better, instead of
Motion.
closing something completely.
Is there a possibility if we looked at the overtime and how it's used and who fills in where and how much they get paid to fill in, that we would be able to make up some of the cost savings instead of doing brownouts that impact service that we provide in the community?
Absolutely, and we're still looking at these numbers, myself and the battalion chiefs, I'm utilizing them to do a lot of help with me to take a look at, where is working out of rank occurring? How often is it occurring? What's that dollar
Because I'd
value?
be much more inclined to look at that than I would be to be comfortable with brownouts at this point when I have just no basis to know how this impacts the service that we provide in the valley.
Well, and I wasn't, comfortable with the idea of totally closing a fire station.
I mean, at this point, I'm not comfortable with either. I just don't have a basis in information and fact to be comfortable with that as to how it's going to impact our service. And so I'd be more in favor of looking at other ways that we can have cost savings than doing it with the services that we're providing to our community. We already run tight ships and run with fewer people. To take even more out doesn't leave me feeling comfortable. I'd be more inclined to find other places that we can cut.
So we're essentially looking at if we were to forget about the brownouts for a moment, so we're still looking at somewhere around 500,000 to 600,000 in savings. Is that correct? I mean, if the brownouts are roughly 440,000, so it's about a $600,000 savings in the budget.
By keeping the brownouts,
by not doing the brownouts.
the totals between the recommendations between Board Chair Segovia and myself, I believe, are just over 640,000 total. We had to come up with around $400,000 worth in additional savings, and that was where the brownouts were originally represented.
Director Herrick, did you have something?
I'm gonna try to do the best to answer the question, your thought, because same thought that I had during the finance committee meeting, which we'll address to the chief. So with the brownouts, because I had asked this question there, we go through cycles of we're very busy and not so busy and very busy and not so busy, normal cycles, now that we're past COVID. And try to time those brownouts during those non-busy times, so it might not affect the possibility of our service. And that was a question that I asked, and I got an answer that was 50-50. So if you could answer.
Yeah, there's a likelihood, but you can't predict, unfortunately, the emergencies. You get to this time of year when kids are back in school and, most people's vacations have ended, you can anticipate with relative certainty that midweek is going to be fairly uneventful. However, we've had plenty of those days where we figured, well, it's a shoulder season, it's a slower time of year, tourism is down, et cetera, and all of a sudden, we're light forcing our engines in order to handle the call volume for the day. So absolutely the plan for this, if this is the direction you direct me to go, it is going to be to look at all of our call volumes for the last 5 years to find where there's most likely to have the least impact.
I know, but I don't agree with brownouts, but there was 4 luxury tour buses coming up this morning to Bear Lake. So how do we know when you can cut, when you can brown these out? There's no prediction.
It is hard to predict, but we do our best to go off the trends.
And this isn't something new, it's something that fire departments do. So it's not something I cooked up.
So a question, I think I know the answer, but I'm really curious what the rest of you say or how you answer this question. Why $2.1 million to fund reserves? Why, how did we arrive at that number? Why that target? What would we do with that $2.1 million?
Well, it would just sit in the FPD account. The city can't use it for anything else. We were trying to reach what the JPA says, which is 50-50.
Okay, so, which I thought was the answer. So the answer to that is to accommodate equal funding from both CSD and the Fire Protection District.
Correct.
Okay. And I will ask collectively, when we had talked in the past about maintaining the existing funding levels, which is not parity, and moving forward and getting through this year and continuing to work on all of those issues, right? Because I think we still have a long row to hoe on that with all the work we're doing to get a better understanding and answer these questions. Is there a reason why we wouldn't do what we had talked about before and simply, from the perspective of the Fire Protection District, potentially overfund and maintain, at least for this fiscal year, the level of service and, all of that, and then take that $1 million and put it in reserves?
Put it in reserves for the FPD?
No?
I'll try to answer that.
Okay.
I made a motion to exactly what you said. You seconded it.
Yep.
And it was voted down 9-1. So it was then reassigned to go back to the finance committee to find cuts, of which we had a meeting which was unsuccessful. This last meeting was very fruitful with coming up with ideas. So could we do exactly what the two of us thought would go, the route would go? Yeah, absolutely. But unless there is an appetite for the whole board to vote in favor of a budget, or the majority to vote in favor of the budget, then we're back to where we're going to cut.
Okay. So let me try this, see if anything's shifted or changed. I'm going to move that we pass the budget as presented, the one that shows the $1 million, the one that's here in the board packet, that we pass that and that we plan on funding that, if that's appropriate for us to do here from a fire protection district, as we have been doing, and that we, again, pledge and continue to work on working out all those differences, but so that we can get this budget done and move forward. So I'm going to make that motion. We'll see if there's any appetite.
Might I
for
say
that.
one thing? I don't want to overspeak, but we gave different direction on the FPD side to our city manager in our last meeting.
Okay. So anyway, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
The previous motion included if there was any discrepancy between the 50-50 allocation of funds, that it would be duly noted, so that it would not be later swept under the carpet with future boards, so would understand what the decision was being made at that particular time.
I remember that. Do you want to amend the motion?
Well, and to have the right wordage in, we were told by our attorneys that we would have to have a document drafted that would be a rights of reservation document, a legal document noting how much money we were overpaying.
If I can, seems how we have a motion in a second, so we can discuss this, I assume. First of all, I'm not comfortable with the budget that was presented, because I don't have, and I'm sorry to say this, I don't have faith in the financial person who put the budget together. So I can't really feel comfortable that this is a valid budget. Second, it's time for us to start looking at ways of reducing what we're spending. I mean, if we don't want to do brownouts, then that's okay. But we still need to look at how do we save money. This stuff of just going as usual, spending money willy-nilly, just doesn't make any sense. If we can save $400,000 out of this budget and still be an effective organization, then we need to do that. This is taxpayers' dollars that we're spending here. It's not our money. So we need to be frugal with that money. We need to make sure that whatever we spend, it's going for a valid purpose that's needed. Okay? We can play games all day long about 50% versus no 50%. But the money that we spend, it better be on target. So that's why I'm saying I'm happy if the board is uncomfortable with the brownouts. Hey, if we can save $600,000, let's save $600,000. Because then the question is, did we really need to spend that money in the first place? And I'm thinking probably not.
Just a suggestion so we can think through this process. If you had a substitute motion with the cuts that you are suggesting, there might be appetite for that.
Okay, I'd like to make a substitute motion that we look at the recommended changes to the budget as proposed by the Finance Committee and those brought up by the chief, excluding, because I don't think there's love for it, excluding the brownout at the station.
And 5%.
Oh, and excuse me, and the 5% reduction in salary for the administrative staff. I just can't cotton that. That's my substitute motion.
I will second that.
I do have some public comment.
Okay.
Patrice Duncan.
Oh, and the lights, excuse me, and the line item for the lights and the CSD coming out as per Rick. Yes.
I'll amend myself.
Just a second, Al, I know you want to say something, but we're going to take public comment.
Better have the floor.
Yeah, that's what he recommended.
I'm not even sure where to begin. First, I'd like to thank Randy for his normal, and Rick for your normal states of common sense. It is very baffling to sit here for months and months, and when you guys agreed to get a budget passed and then look at all these other side issues, inequality, et cetera, I hope that you guys vote that direction. I also do want to say that the ambulance revenue is revenue, just like mutual aid revenue, just like airship operations revenue, just like grant funding revenue, and all should be reflected as revenue. Now, however you guys want to fight about that, if the ambulance program is losing money, then we need to look at ways to subsidize that. But we still aren't clear as to what's been put in that ambulance operators program to know that it truly is losing money. I do believe that we should go after the resort and we should go after the hospital to subsidize any losses that the fire department has. I do also want to just make a comment about brownouts. When Director Segovia brought that up in the Budget Finance Committee meeting, not sure if you all were aware, but there was a major structure fire at the top of Maple Lane in Sugarloaf on that very same day, 2 houses down from the National Forest. All 3 engines were required and the structure was still a total loss. You realize that it would take 15 to 20 minutes for Bear Lake to get there as a first responder. We could have lost an entire block. We could have started a wildfire. So I'm pleased that you guys are considering that brownouts are possibly not an option because we cannot handle it. We have so many zero drawdown days, even when we're fully staffed. So please look at all the facts. I do also want to make a comment when Director Segovia mentioned that fire departments do this all the time. They do this all the time because they are tens of millions of dollars in debt and they have recruitment and retention problems. Director Segovia mentioned LA Fire Department where her husband used to work. During the brownout of 2009, a 3-year-old boy lost his life. Here's an article from the LA Times on September 1st, 2009. A 3-year-old boy died in a swimming pool accident in Bel Air because the neighborhood's fire engines had been shut down because of budget cuts. The remaining 2 units at the neighborhood firehouse had been sent on another emergency 94 seconds before the agency dispatched for this call. The next closest rescuers took more than 10 minutes to arrive after the 911 call, and the child was pronounced dead at the scene. Do you all want that on your consciences? So please, please vote to not do the brownouts. Thank you.
Kelly Olson, who's in the other room. So we'll give her a minute.
She should be monitoring.
She's back there, so.
I don't see anybody getting up.
It's almost.
Hello, my name is Kelly Olson and I'm a resident of Big Bear City. I had another speech written, but as I'm listening to the comments, I'm getting a little heated, I must say, because my husband is a paramedic down in San Bernardino County. So I'm understanding some of these issues, as well as I know that most of you guys don't understand. So first of all, when you mentioned brownouts, that in like cities like LA, there are only 3% of the staff that's being lost, not 33%. The next thing is if you're gonna brown out, for me, because I live in Big Bear City, why aren't we browning out Big Bear Lake? When there's only 6,000 residents as opposed to 13,000 in Big Bear City, okay? Sorry, it's a little personal because my parents have used the fire department as well as my neighbors like almost once a month because they're elderly and there are more residents in Big Bear City. So as I go on, as most of you have no clue about EMS and how they operate, it shows, or we wouldn't be discussing brownouts. The staff, to my knowledge, is currently running low and running at a 0 level, which means if you call 911, they're not going to be there. My husband is constantly being held when he would rather be home with his family, but shit hits the fan. Things happen. Obviously, you know, it took how long to get to that poor man at the dam who lost his life. You know, you're going all the way across the valley, okay? So if it's you, which it could be any one of you having to need services, it's not just us, you know, people that aren't on the city council or the CSD board. So it's a little frustrating. And to transport people down the mountain, we don't have the equipment for the hospitals to help the people who really need help. So we do have to fly them off the mountain. We do, and it's helpful for us to have service.
I can hear it now going. I can. It's low, but I can hear it.
Yes, no?
Yep,
Okay.
go for it.
Good afternoon. My name is Sierra Contreras, and I have lived in the Valley my entire life. It may be a surprise to some of y'all that a young lady like myself is standing here today and discussing this topic with y'all. Well, I promise you, my generation and generations behind me, we're paying attention and we're listening. We're ready to make a change. I think it's crazy that you guys are more concerned about overtime, which helps save lives, but there wasn't this much commotion at the Financial Planning Committee meeting when there was an idea to cut y'all's food budget. So it's clear to me and probably to everybody around us now that you care more about your food budget rather than to protect the fire department's personnel and prevent brownouts. We got to keep your stomachs full, right? Don't worry, I brought pizza for all y'all to share so you won't go hungry and complain like you did at the last meeting. As a medical student and a future physician, I know the seconds matter in emergencies. As of now, the fire department is running at a level 0, so when you call 911, no one's there to help. But apparently, your growling stomach matters more. Crazy idea. You're adults. Pack a lunch.
Chuck Robillard.
It's a small. They're gonna fly over it.
That's awesome. I didn't know we had a food budget. Did we have a food budget? What's that?
Yeah. I think we talked about that last week.
The Subway sandwiches, pizza.
We did.
Catered dinners.
What catered dinners do we have?
Recently, not in the past.
Well, that's.
Should we comment on it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, we did talk about it at Finance Committee, and we did the math on it, it ended up to just be hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. And unless we
I'm happy
change,
to throw in money for food if it cuts
well,
$300.
unless we change our meeting times away from dinner times, because we're trying to have participation with the public as well, which takes us into oftentimes 8 or 9 o'clock at night with our discussions, to have, as I would describe, a hangry board members is probably not the best way to conduct business.
I eat before we come here because I know it's gonna happen.
Well, I work, so I can't do that.
Well,
So I have to come
you
here.
should
But
figure out how to be here.
if you'd like to cut the food budget, then make a suggestion when the budget actually comes around, that's a good thing to cut out. I don't really care, to be honest with you. It's just, I care to have well-functioning, high-functioning board members when we're making these million-dollar decisions, so. But we can cut it out.
I can afford to buy a sandwich. You take it out of my salary. We make so much.
Well, that's also, we can also cut our pay. If we care to cut our food and cut our pay, if we care to do that as well. But there have been strong objections to cutting our pay previously for many board members who are still with us. And it was not a favorable thought to do, but that's another thing. But again, that would save thousands of dollars. Food saves hundreds of dollars.
No way in hell.
So anyways,
I just, in that back room, I called for Chuck Robillard.
Right here.
Okay.
Is there another, maybe the next person on deck?
Hello there, board. It's been a while since I've been here. My name is Chuck Rollwood. I'm a resident of the city of Big Bear Lake, also a retired fire captain from this agency. To hear talk again about brownouts to save money, it just shows to me again that we have a 10-member board that has the best interest of 2 different organizations. And that's not what this JPA was put together for. We're all supposed to be working together. And there's still the infighting that I can see going on. I've been away from here for a little while. So to me, that's pretty disappointing. It also shows me too that there's certain board members that don't have a clue as to the way that fire departments operate. When you've got a board member discussing cutting overtime of 16 hours and how we can put employees on a 40-hour work week, that shows me you have no clue the way that this fire department operates or any other fire department in this area, to be honest. So please educate yourself. The public.
I take offense.
No, I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't care if you take offense. It's not up to you. It's my turn to talk. I got 3 minutes, so listen. All you 10 people were voted in to your respective slots. You took an oath when you took your office. That was to take care of your constituents in your area, and that was to provide service to the community that you serve here. Well, this is a service of the community. This is emergencies. This is life-saving things that happen here. So if this fire department isn't able to put money away into their reserve fund or whatever it is, but they're providing 100% of a service to this area, then that's what you do. You don't have widgets that you make. You don't need to save $1 on this or that. You're providing a service. So every bit of service you provide has a value. And if you don't provide that service, shame on you, because you've got a way of controlling it. The Fire Protection District was established in 1927. The city was incorporated in 1980, which means that it was running a lot longer. Yet, when it was incorporated, the Fire Protection District became a subsidiary district of the city of Big Bear Lake. Why is that?
It's all about control, guys. It's control and power, and it always has been. And infrastructure. That's my 3 minutes. Thank you, I got 1 minute. All right, so anyways, in closing, I just think that you guys need to refocus what your efforts are. And I want to know who's the representative on the fire protection district when the fire protection district board meets. Who is the fire department person there? Rick?
Well, I'm the chairman of the board, but it's actually our executive person is our city manager.
Okay, so why isn't the fire chief at that fire protection district meeting as a representative of the fire department? Because the city manager has the interest of the city. Why is not the fire chief there? I think that needs to be identified and that needs to be corrected immediately.
I believe that the fire chief can come to the fire protection meetings anytime.
Yeah,
They're posted, they're
that's
public.
different. That's different though. That's different because the fire chief doesn't need the influence of the city manager there at a fire protection district board meeting. Do you understand what I'm saying? Thank you.
Okay, that is all of the cards.
Hello.
Mr. Ziegler.
Heavy on the mister. Well, we've had quite a meeting here today. I suppose I'll make an ass out of myself as I usual. One thing that I do not like the idea of our assistant chiefs, or you can call them, like, what do we call our guys that go off the hill?
ECs.
Battalion chiefs.
Yeah, okay, battalion chiefs. Thanks, chief. I do not approve of the idea of them not taking their trucks home. I'm completely opposed to it. Because I've been here since 1974. I don't know why the hell I'm still here sometimes. But I love this valley and I love my damn agency here. I love serving with you people. But at the same time, when you start talking about cutting, a lot of the things that Mr. Gentleman in the corner there came up with, I'm 100% behind him. But at the same time, when you start taking the equipment away from our boys that take their trucks home, we sure as hell don't do it in the water department. We don't do it in the sewer department. We don't do it even in the trash department. So I'm completely opposed to it. I do not like the idea of saying, boys, you can't take your pickup homes anymore. Because you talk about safety issues. Let me tell you something. We got the best in the land. And we got one group of people right now this minute in Fresno. And he sure as hell did nothing but change his shorts before he got in the truck and left. So don't mess with the idea of taking those trucks away. That is not a safety issue. That is a safety issue. I'm sorry. It is a safety issue. And I'm completely for it. Don't be messing with our battalion chiefs. They do a hell of a job. And look what I got sitting next to me. That was a battalion chief for years. And I'm proud that we have him serving with us. But I've been here a long time. And then when it comes to the fact of what we get paid for these meetings, all the other agencies that I belong to, speaking of CSD, Barwell, I don't, but in turn.
Can you wrap it up, Al? Just, it's getting a little long. So
what the hell? We've been messing around all evening. Why cut me off?
Well, just.
Yeah, I know Ziegler's last in line. Well, I'm just saying is, a lot's come out of here tonight, but at the same time, you know what? If you work, don't fix it. And I like what we do, and I like the way we do it. And so as far as I'm concerned, then you can have the damn floor. As far as I'm concerned, every time people come up here and they go skiing, you people that sit on the city council over here should come up with a proposal whereby they add $1 to the damn ticket line. And then you don't have to sit here and trying to figure out.
Al, we already talked about that in the strategic planning committee.
Well,
that has already been discussed.
Unfortunately, I'm not on no but 2 committees that ain't worth a damn. That's what I'm sitting on.
Director Melnick.
I just have a couple of questions based off of the motion that's out there and some of the cuts that we're proposing. Luke, as it relates to backfilling the 2 firefighters for $276,000, is that going to impact the the services that we provide?
There's a decrease in that one body that's on the rig. However, we staff most of our equipment with paramedics, all of them. Our youngest firefighter that we just hired on tonight is waiting for paramedic school. I believe the rest of our staff at this point now are medics on the suppression side. So we have the paramedics, we'd be shy one additional firefighter.
So we're cutting.
Not elimination of the position, it would be not backfilled as a cost savings measure. So there'd be an empty seat potentially.
And then as it relates to battalion chief vehicles, does that impact readiness?
It does. I mean, our battalion chiefs currently function more in a division status as opposed to battalion chiefs. Most battalion chiefs in large organizations, and I'm not comparing this, typically just handle day-to-day operations, personnel issues, and emergency call responses to large-scale fires, rescues, traffic collisions, etc. The 3 battalion chiefs have areas of responsibility that include EMS, fire prevention, and training, and are utilized for a lot of meetings on their days off that I just cannot make it to myself, based on my own scheduled meetings. Their ability to respond up here, code 3, could potentially be impacted by it. Their ability to get through roadblocks, such as during the line fire, during the El Dorado fire, could be impacted. It's just going to delay them potentially in their ability to get up here. And without
so the vehicle impacts whether they can get up. They don't have a placard. They don't have something. I mean, we all. I mean, like it's not the vehicle that gets them through. So like, I'm asking legitimately, will them not taking their vehicle home, down the hill, wherever it is that they are, and going to a meeting in an office, will that impact, right? I'm trying to understand whether this is something that we're nitpicking to save $12,000 and it's not really going to have an impact on safety versus this is a legitimately good cut that we should be looking at. And that's the information that I need. And so like, I'm trying to understand, like, does it hurt? Are we hurting the services that we're providing by cutting the $276,000 for backfilling?
Yes.
And Al, I'm not asking you, I'm sorry.
Go right ahead. You got the floor.
Is the savings worth the $12,428 for those battalion chiefs?
Well, you also have the expense of like this. We know that these have been we've delayed buying new ones. So you have the expense of buying a new one, outfitting it and all that. So it's not just this. It's
well, then, I'm not making decisions based off of information. If it's not this, then what am I agreeing to?
This wasn't a figure. These are figures that the chief came up with, but it's in essence buying more. Can I just say one thing? So it's apparent tonight that I have somehow become like the villain of this piece, but Luke, we've looked at this budget 6 times and he kept saying, come up with some cuts, let us know. And so at our last board meeting, the finance committee was directed to come up with some stuff. And it just so happens I was the only one that came to the meeting with some cuts. So I know Patrice likes to, she's called me out multiple times tonight. And, I just happen to be the one that came up with cuts, so.
I just, from the finance committee, and I really appreciated the fact that you did the hard work to come up with these things, because it's very frustrating to come meeting after meeting with no suggestion of where to cut, just voting budgets down. We get absolutely nowhere. These are debatable points that we needed, and Kendi came up with them. I mean, big pat on the back to Kendi's work for doing this, because we couldn't get to the point of voting on it, I don't think, unless these were suggested. So they're great suggestions. They're suggestions. They're debatable suggestions. We just have to debate through basically each one of them and come up with a decision of what we're going to do or not do. But we really need to pass a budget. I think that's the most important thing. Whether the cuts or not, or even if we reject all the ones that were suggested, we only take the chief suggestion, something to get us past stop, which we've been at now for months.
I agree with you. I'm just trying to understand as I'm making these decisions of where we should and should not cut. For 4 months, I've been talking about a $60,000 line item that keeps sitting in there. There were a few of those that still have not been. I mean, you can talk under your breath, Larry, all you want, but it is a line item for this budget that we are paying.
Which 60,000?
I'm sorry, the lights for the CSD are
Pay them.
What?
You don't pay them. It
We
comes-
do, it's in our budget.
We
I
just,
don't know
we
why
need to
it's
take the
there.
line item out of the budget.
We need to take it out.
So however the accounting is done, the line item is gone, we never discussed it.
I call for the question.
So is that the motion, the last motion that
Yes.
was
Could someone repeat the motion, please?
made? Yeah, could someone repeat that motion because I don't even remember what it was.
Do you want me to
It's Chuck's motion.
That we
Yes.
modify the budget as presented to include the recommended changes by the chief and those items found at the finance committee meeting, except for the brownout and the reduction in administrative salaries. And we take out that $39,500
for the CSD lights?
for the CSD lights. I think that covers it. Rick, does that sound about right to you?
Sounds right to me.
That's what I have written.
Okay.
That's all I had.
And Rick seconded it, Chardell.
Yes.
Okay, any more discussion?
The gentleman with the hat raised his
If
hand.
you called for the question, if you called for the question, then we're supposed to vote on it.
Okay.
I mean, that does shut down discussion, but
Okay.
that's what happens when you do that.
Can we just
Okay.
confirm there was not, maybe a public comment, was there a card submitted for this
Oh,
item?
yeah, I said,
Oh, okay,
it's okay.
okay, thanks, sorry.
Okay, Chardell, roll call, please.
Wait a minute, wait. So what are we presenting? What kind of budget are we presenting? Are you presenting 50/50? Are you
We're not
presenting
even
what it
talking
used
about
to
that.
be?
That's not even on the table
It's
for
not a
discussion.
subject.
We're not talking 50/50 at this point.
Well, so
We're
we're,
just talking passing this budget and funding it as such.
as it has been in the past.
Well,
With you putting in your whole amount, us putting in our amount, and these cuts, correct?
well,
No,
not in there,
well,
man.
about it, it's not gonna, no, we're not
Well,
gonna
Rick-
pass it if you're not gonna put in your whole amount.
Although can I clarify?
Okay, just point of order. The question's been called, and
So roll call.
I don't think we have any other choice, and maybe you can correct me.
Well, because we don't know exactly what we're voting on.
You're voting on the budget with the cuts that Chuck outlined.
I would recommend we read the motion one more time and we take a vote.
That's good.
I'm happy to read the motion, but I'll clarify the way that the process works is that when this board approves a budget, and we can talk about what that is, the invoices will go out to the agencies for the amount to cover that budget. So that's what the process will look like. My understanding is that what is being proposed in this motion would include an amount above the CSD would contribute its full amount. The fire protection district would have to contribute an amount that is above that in order to fund some of this because it's not the full $2.1 million reduction.
So we violate the JPA when we invoice for disproportionate amounts?
If the board passes this motion, that is my understanding of what would happen.
And we are going to have to get the rights of reservation
No,
legally done.
nope.
Can we give us the motion so we can vote on it?
Let me say
Just
one other
word,
thing
'cause
also.
I misheard something.
Unfortunately, because our chief did not have the finance person, I think it would have been better for us to have been able to get this earlier and have thought about it and digested it, rather than just tonight it's, so he was going to present something that was lower, but was unable to because of an absence.
But that wouldn't have resolved the funding issue.
Maybe. I mean, if we had had this ahead of time and could have thought about it and.
But Nick just explained that the invoices are gonna go out and that they're not going to follow the JPA and they're not going to request equal funding from each agency, if I understood you correctly.
That is what I anticipate would happen. The first step is that this board adopts a budget. And whether that is covered by one or both agencies, I can't speak to what the agencies will do after invoices go out. I guess I'll put it that way.
We can take
but
up
the
the
first-
funding as a separate agenda item. This is a budget that we are passing, and the question's been called. We can certainly take up a separate agenda item as to the JPA and the 50/50, which will need to be addressed separately, but we need to pass a budget.
So the
And I
answer-
would assume the rights of reservation, we need to do that on the FPD side.
So the answer to that question, how, if we pass this budget as proposed right now, how that's going to be funded is, we don't know. And either the Fire Protection District could pay disproportionately, inconsistently with the JPA, or we're gonna go in the hole into reserves, whatever the amount is that we took off, right? The roughly $500,000, right? Because we reduced this debt. So those are two plausible scenarios that we'll have to hash out later.
But between the theory of saving $1 million on the budget and the additional $600,000, we're looking at about $1.7 million. So if we look at how much we pay over that, guess what? It's about $1.7 million. So we may find, well, we may find out that we're pretty close to where we need to be. So we have a budget. I have called for the question. Let's vote on it just so we can have a budget.
Just because it repeated the motion, and it was insinuated, but I didn't hear it repeated back regarding not funding the reserves. It was insinuated, but I didn't hear that when it was repeated back to me.
So we've discussed that multiple times.
I know. That's why I want clarification regarding that as well.
I think it was missed in the
Yeah,
motion.
I should have said, and not fund the reserves. Do
You
agree?
insinuated it, but like I said, I
Well,
didn't.
but that's not part of the motion right now.
No. Then we could,
So the question's been called, we need to vote on this.
Right.
So vote it down if you don't like it. It's that simple.
So are you putting in your 2.1 extra?
We don't know.
No. I mean,
Well, then how can we pass this budget? We don't know.
then don't vote for it.
Okay.
All I can say is it will be funded. We just don't know how it's going to be divided.
Director Walsh?
Counselor, if we do not vote a budget tonight, by law, what happens?
So right now, when July 1st passed and a budget was not adopted, the agency is operating off of last year's budget and approved amounts, except for any new permanent employee positions have to be specifically authorized by the board. Any new fixed assets have to be specifically authorized by the board, and any expenditures that are not covered under last year's budget, which continues repeating, have to be authorized by the board. The same situation will continue when you hit the next date, which is October 1st. So normally the agency can either pass a final budget by July 1st or pass a preliminary budget by then, and then make changes by October 1st. So October 1st is the next date. Generally, so the same situation would continue where certain specific items might need to come back to the board for authorization. It's also possible that the state auditor and controller could start asking why a budget hasn't been approved, et cetera. It's not clear that that would start immediately as of October 1st, but that's something that could occur. There also might be a need to come back to the board or call special meetings for items that are not covered under last year's budget. So that's the situation in terms of continuing not funding the budget. I do also want to just state with one of the items that was just raised, and I can't remember which director mentioned it, the board could either vote on implementing this tonight with whatever budget you just decide to pass, or you could provide direction to the chief to bring back on paper a specific budget that you direct him to provide tonight. And then finally, I do want to note, under the joint powers agreement, it takes 7 votes in the affirmative to pass a budget.
So point of order, Chair. I'm going to again call for the question. Unless we want to throw parliamentary procedure out the window tonight, we need to take a vote.
So we are, Chardell, roll call, please.
Director Russo?
No.
I'm sorry, one more.
He said no.
Thank you. Director Walsh?
No.
Director Ziegler?
Hell no.
Director Herrick?
No.
Director Hicks?
aye.
Director Melnick?
We need, no.
Director Putz,
No?
Vice Chair Biro,
No.
Director J. Rowe,
No.
Board Chair Segovia.
No.
Motion fails.
So if I could, you can try again. I mean, we can still get a
The
budget, but,
substitute failed, your motion is on the
oh,
floor now.
thank you. You're right. Thank you. So can someone remind us? I mean, or I can repeat it. I mean, could you
The motion was to approve the budget as presented. So this is the budget that has been presented to the board previously with approximately $1 million going into reserves.
Okay, so we're back to that. So I'm gonna call for the question.
I had a substitute.
I mean, you can substitute twice, I think.
I don't know.
Nick?
There's a limit to them.
There usually is a limit on a substitute to a substitute.
Well, this would be a substitute back to the initial. It'd be a double substitute on the initial.
I'm not certain. I'd have to look it up, whether you could do it right now or not, or if you want to see if the main motion advances, then you can make a new motion once the table is clear. If it doesn't.
Did Randy have a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
A second, yeah, Bob, second. Call for the question. Okay, we'll do that.
So we're gonna take roll call? Chardell, roll call, please.
If you can please confirm who the second was for that first motion.
I am.
Bob.
Thank you. Thank you. Director J. Rowe,
Oh, no.
Director Russo,
Yes.
Director Walsh,
No.
Director Ziegler,
Hell no.
Director Herrick,
No.
Director Hicks,
Yes.
Director Melnick,
No.
Director Putz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Biro,
Yes.
Board Chair Segovia.
No.
Motion fails.
I'd like to make a motion. My motion is to accept the budget with, actually, let me rephrase this. Because we have a little bit of time, my motion is to actually have a written budget with the cuts as proposed, but I'd like to see a budget just with the chief's proposed budget cuts of the 150 plus 75,000, which seems much easier task.
What's the 75?
What's
Bring
the
back
75?
for approval, so we can actually see what the budget is.
Are you
within
asking
the
for
numbers.
two budgets or one budget?
Two budgets. One budget with, as what was proposed with the cuts, the second budget with the chief's
Okay,
proposed.
so,
And we can actually
So
look at a
this-
real budget of what it really means.
So this one, and then a second one to consider that includes his additional stuff.
And my intention is not to include the brownouts.
So both mine and Board Chair Segovia's cuts without brownouts?
That's
And then
my-
just mine alone?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's what we,
Brought back to the next.
we already voted on that. Without the brownouts.
Yeah, that was the first time.
Well, no, my proposal is not to vote on the budget. My proposal is to get the actual budget back for our next meeting.
for the next meeting.
Oh.
Yes.
Which we actually
So we
look
have to
at what
see
the
it.
cuts, we had, get to see exactly what it is as opposed to sort of
Yes.
thinking that this is what we're voting on.
Are we gonna have somebody in staff who can put the budget together by the next meeting?
Yes.
Yes, Chief Wagner and I talked and we agreed that it would be better if we could have digested this information.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we were unable to.
Can you please clarify the two versions? The first version being,
I'll call the first version, which is basically Chuck's version of the budget with the cuts as proposed from the finance committee, less the brownouts. The second budget only includes the suggestions from the chief.
Which is the roof and,
The health
Yes.
retirement account.
And
Yes.
to further clarify, because it wasn't clear previously, to make sure that not funding the reserve is also part of the finance committee's proposed suggestions. And I don't know if this makes it more confusing or less confusing, but to have a budget Now, let's just leave them separate. Let's leave those two distinct, clear, separate
Yeah,
budgets, and we could still mesh them around, but then we have clear numbers.
I would second that.
I didn't even understand that.
Director Putz.
So, I would probably vote against that, not necessarily because I'm opposed to what that would contain, but because we've been messing around for 4 months on this, and we really need to get a budget passed. Also, we have the funding issue that we need to address. Even if we pass the budget, we still have to work through that. I would go back to, based on where we're at, and even though I'm not comfortable with the fire protection district paying a disproportionate share, I'm even more uncomfortable with the fire protection district just yanking money away that we still have to spend anyway on fire services, and that we do what we said we were going to do. I guess we can change our mind many months ago, where we continue until we get it figured out and resolved. We continue to fund disproportionately with the reservation and all that kind of stuff, so that we can work through the process but not make the community suffer in the meantime.
So are you seeing the funding issue as a separate topic to chew on? Is that it?
Yes, it's related, but it's separate from passing a budget.
So you're saying just because a budget passes, it's not necessarily going to be funded?
We could, if we wanted, as an extreme example, we could pass a budget that goes into reserves, $5 million, that cuts back and puts $5 million into reserves. I mean, frankly, there's all kinds of things that we could do that's at our discretion. I'm not suggesting any of those, but that is separate from how we're going to pay for it. Obviously, it's related, but we have a separate but related issue of how the funding is going to cover that.
Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't the board vote 10-0 to follow the JPA?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure.
We did.
So we already talked about that, and we voted at this fire authority 10-0 that we were going to follow the JPA. So, we can talk funding sources, but I think it has to be clear that it has to be documented that if we pass when we pass a budget, I'm going to say when, not if, that the funding is not following the JPA, but we need to do that while we're working through
which is where the rights
JPA,
reservation
because we don't want to impact service to the community during that period of time. But we already discussed it. It was a 10-0 vote.
Yes. Director Walsh.
Counselor, I'm hearing a proposal for 2 documents.
Turn on your mic, please.
I'm hearing a proposal to present 2 documents at the next meeting, not necessarily to vote on a budget.
Correct.
Therefore, this is a simple majority, not a super.
That's correct.
Thank you.
6 votes.
This motion.
That's what Rick's motion
Director
was.
Herrick made.
Rick, would you consider this? We've already voted on my motion, and the group said no. So to bring my motion back at the next meeting, to have the group vote no, again, really doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. I would suggest that so we can go forward, that your second thought, and that is we take the chief's recommended cuts, his 2 cuts, right now. Let's vote on that. Hopefully that will pass. And if we need to make changes or amendments to the budget, we can. But we need to get a budget on board. Nick said something tonight that if this isn't done by the 1st of October, arguably, whether or not the state will do it, the last thing we need is that 1,000-pound gorilla to come down here and say, what are you folks doing? Because we know they can't manage their own budget. So the last thing we need is for them to come in and manage ours. So my recommendation, I would ask that you substitute your motion such that the two changes recommended by the chief, we vote on, and hopefully we can get 2/3 of this board to pass, and then we can go forward from there.
I will happily second that, because it was you I had in mind when I changed my suggestion, my thought to having two budgets presented.
Well, I appreciate that.
So I'll second.
Can we have a substitute to a substitute?
Well, that was no, because everything died and mine was a clean.
Oh, it was a clean one.
Yeah, mine was a clean.
What are your
Did you get a second?
cuts? I mean, what are
I
your,
did from Kendi.
150,000 for the roof project and 75,000 for the HRA. For the AOs. Correct?
It's going to have a substitute, Chuck substitute with my second on it. I think I can second.
So it's
I'm gonna need a repeat.
175 plus,
Are we voting to bring
150
that
plus
back, or are
70.
we voting to approve that as the budget? Because I agree with you, Chuck. What's the point of bringing it back if it already failed tonight?
We're voting on this budget less 150,000 for that roof replacement and 75,000 for the HRA. So we can leave out of here tonight with the budget.
and then understanding we still need to talk about the funding
And the
issues
how about the 38,000
and the reserve.
lights?
And the reserve.
And the reserve, and the lights.
Yes, the reserve, the lights, the roof, the HRA.
And
Okay, so
please,
just those ones plus the lights that the chief recommended,
The reserve.
none of this,
The reserve, the lights, the HRA, the roof.
and none of this.
Right.
So what about our bad battalion chief's trucks? Is that on the list?
Nope.
no,
So, Nick, I heard you say that we can approve the budget tonight and refine it? In other words,
The board can always make changes to its approved budget.
Rework it.
So,
so that at what point, just so I understand, at what point would we maybe want to do that if we want to pull out the reserves?
Whenever you want.
because it's the funding discussion, there was something that would come back.
let's not
No.
No, to Perry's point, the funding thing has actually already been resolved, because thank you for reminding us of that.
Oh, the 50/50.
Because
yes,
it's
that
gonna
we
be
voted
funded
10.
50/50, because we all agreed we need to follow the JPA.
Yes,
all 10 of us did.
all
Okay.
10 of us.
So of course, that's going to raise the question, right? If it's this presented budget, right? The plus $1 million that you've mentioned, Chuck,
Right.
right? So that's gonna be reduced by a couple $100,000?
No, a little over 1 million and 225,000, right?
Oh, so it's gonna add to it.
It's going to reduce it.
It's gonna reduce it by almost 1.3 maybe. Is that correct?
2.5.
Because we're
Yeah.
gonna do away with, granted, we're gonna do away with the reserve, and we're gonna reduce it by 150,000 for the roof replacement and 75,000 for the
For the
HRA. So that'll give us about $1.3 million reduction.
Just slightly less, I think, but
1.3 reduction based on the budget that was presented
Exactly,
Right.
tonight.
correct.
yes.
So that's gonna go from 1-ish million to 2.3?
No, one-ish,
We'll go to
a little over a million. Because his two cuts are only
Okay,
150 and 75.
Operation cost of $225,000.
okay, so then what we're voting on the bottom line is there'd be a surplus of $1 million.
No,
I wouldn't factor that in.
We'll zero out, no reserves.
no reserves, yeah.
Oh, okay. So then when we go to fund that 50/50, how's that gonna work? We're gonna go into reserves to fund the difference.
Or
I think that's a
just-
fire protection district discussion that,
You pointed out, there's no discussion. We agreed we're following the JPA.
Yeah,
So then we're gonna fund it 50/50. There's no discussion. We already agreed on that.
Well, the JPA also says contribution, and the ambulance is our contribution.
Okay, so
that's
anyway,
losing $600,000 a year.
so
But it's still
my
3.6.
point is that the budget would be roughly a wash. Right? the budget would roughly be be break even, right? And then we go to fund it. And what's the dollar amount that we're not funding? Is it $2 million, $1 million?
No, it's well, yeah, it's not quite 1.3 million.
Okay, so we're gonna have a $1.3 million deficit.
Right.
If we follow the JPA, when we follow the
So
JPA, if
because-
we adopt the budget. I just wanna make sure
Yeah,
I'm
so
understanding
because
what we're
we
saying.
because the entire board voted, we were, I think when we've discussed at meetings to cut the reserves, it was just gonna come from the city side, but since we both, your point is since we all 10 voted to follow the JPA, it would be on both sides. Wouldn't be
Well,
funding the
right.
reserve.
But if I recall correctly, Fire Protection District was disproportionately funding like $2 million, right?
Yeah, 2.3 million.
Okay.
Yes.
So that means if we do equal funding, either CSD is gonna pay $2.3 million more, which we know isn't gonna happen because they don't have the money, or we're gonna underfund 2.3 million.
Correct.
So then we are approving a budget that is going to be short roughly $2 million, right?
There will be a
Yes.
deficit, you're right.
Okay.
Yes.
And so we're gonna have to grapple with how we fund that shortfall. And I guess that would come out of
Isn't
reserves.
there's money that comes in
Right.
from tax.
Well, it says technically, it's only we're short by $1 million,
Right, because the reserves is,
because the reserves is out. So
That's still a
technically,
deficit.
we're short by $1 million. Technically, we're supposed to get invoices for going to each one of the agencies for either the 50, I'm not sure how she's going to invoice each one of the agencies, 50/50, or proportionally based upon what can be put in. That I don't have an answer for. I don't know. So we might, the Fire Protection District might get a bill for more than 50%. The CSD might get a bill for less than 50%. I'm not sure the practical side of how that's supposed to work.
Why, if we're following the JPA, which says we're funding 50%
Well, because
each?
we also agreed not to jeopardize the agency by not funding it.
We talked about it in theory. I don't think we ever did anything formal
I
about
don't
it.
remember voting or not voting on it, but I thought there was at least consensus.
Well, yeah, but that was 6 months ago.
No, I know.
So-
A lot of water
Yeah, and-
under the bridge.
Anyway, I want to make sure we're clear on what we're doing. If we approve the motion that is here now, is we're gonna have, I mean, I'd argue it doesn't even matter. I mean, it does matter, obviously, but if it's $1 million, $2 million, whatever, there's gonna be a significant shortfall
Exactly.
that we're gonna have to deal with. I just want us to be
about
clear.
$1 million, right?
Fine.
And I mean, it's up to Luke to build the two agencies, so.
Larry wants to speak.
Honestly, I'm comfortable with that as long as, again, it's acknowledged there is a difference while we're working through all these details we have to work through and getting data and trying to figure out where we are audit wise and service level wise, all these sort of things we're trying to work through.
Okay, but we're not passing a balanced budget that's gonna be underfunded. That's my point, if we approve this.
And Director Walsh wanted to say something.
Okay, so now we're not voting on documents, we're voting on a budget.
Yep.
As suggested by Mr. Hicks.
Yeah, you wanted documents,
No,
Yeah,
I
but
think-
there's a,
Yeah, I think,
so that's done.
I want to make sure that I understand what I'm voting on, that's all.
yes.
150,000, 75,000, the lights, and no reserve.
4 items
Right.
out of the budget.
Bear in mind,
50/50 budget.
Let's not come.
if we pass a budget, there's nothing that prevents us from going, hey, Luke, guess what? We're not going to do the Me Too clause. Just because they're not in our budget doesn't mean that there isn't still work that we can do to find additional cuts. We're just putting a budget in place that we have to have as an agency to operate. Do we love every little bit of it? No. Does it need work?
No.
Yes. Is it incumbent on us to do the work? Yes. We can amend the budget, but we've got to get something that allows the agency to move forward. I'll call the question.
Can someone repeat the motion?
So as I understand it, the motion is that we are approving a budget that has negative 4 items. The HRA, the roof replacement for $150,000 at Station 282, the reserve fund, and the lights. 4 items out of the budget. That is the motion.
You agree?
Yeah,
That's the motion.
that's the motion. Harry's call for the question.
So roll call.
Director Putz,
Go for it, Randy.
Do it.
No.
Vice Chair Biro,
No.
Director J. Rowe,
No.
Director Russo,
No.
Director Walsh,
No.
Director Ziegler,
No.
Director Herrick,
Yes.
Director Hicks,
Yes.
Director Melnick,
Yes.
Board Chair Segovia.
Yes.
Motion fails.
I need a break.
We would have need 2/3
I
anyway.
know. I know.
We need a break.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute?
Yeah.
A 5-minute break. We'll be back at 7:10. It's 7:03 right now.
So before,
Although there's a lot of, let me see.
If we can.
we were over
I mean,
18
sit out there.
though.
I like that.
So if you go back to 50/50, we're gonna have to take away $2 million somewhere.
Yeah.
Cold. And we're only taking away 1 point something, right? So it leaves 700,000 that we're gonna be short.
And that's what has to be accounted.
Just turn it on, right? Is that what you told me?
Legally,
We're gonna bring in however many seats we can fill.
Seat fillers.
Well, or have, either we go into reserve.
Chief, we're gonna bring in however many seats we
Just
can
direct
fill.
Dan to go into
Oh, the end. The other one's here too.
So to Rick's point, that was a substitute motion that failed back to his original.
Oh, okay, all right. So we're back to that one.
Which, to be clear, is not passing a budget.
do we need help?
Are you saying we have a motion that hasn't been voted on?
Yes.
Yeah, because that last one was a substitute, so we're back to the original one, which is the bring back.
Please rephrase it when we get there.
We will, we'll make it clear. Please.
That's what I'm saying. Please bring it back so we understand.
Okay, so we have a motion that was not voted on, which was Rick's motion that I seconded it. That is, at the next meeting, we bring back a budget, a presentation of a budget that is this paper plus the reserves out, but not including the brownouts or the 5% admin cut, is that correct?
I thought that was left in.
Okay, so do you?
Just the brownouts.
Just the brownouts, okay. So we'll be working together to bring back one budget that does not include the brownouts. And the lights are out. Is that correct, Rick?
And no million reserves.
But that's budget one.
Okay.
Budget two was just with the chief's 2 items that are the HRA and the roof replacement and the lights.
I didn't say lights.
Okay, so.
That might have been a mistake, but again, we're just getting the budget, and if anybody wants to amend it, to propose a motion that includes the lights and anything else. This is just to get the numbers, so we understand.
So we're just going to get what the budget will look like.
Yes.
Right.
Not voting on a budget.
Right.
Yes, at the next meeting.
Right now, at the
So
present
we're kicking the can to look at an actual budget of what we just voted down because we didn't have the votes for it.
Correct.
So I'm just wondering, we're just kicking the can down the road. I mean, for all the people who keep voting no on a budget, I'd love to hear your suggestions on a budget and put it forward.
I made one.
You did. You voted yes on one of the budgets. For all the people who have consistently voted no on every budget presented, present something.
We did. The ambulance needs to be in there as part of our contribution,
That's not the budget.
That's not the budget.
but it's still funding. That's what we're
It's
concerned with. We don't want that 50-50 budget.
It's not monetary.
It's not necessarily monetary. It's a contribution, the JPA says.
That'll be a discussion for another day, once
That's
we get all
not
the
the
data. But yeah, you're
budget.
right, but we have to
But then
sort
you
of-
want us to take all the expenses that go with the budget out.
Yeah, so it's not really.
So how is that a line item in a budget if you only have, you get a credit, but all of the expenses that come with that, we pick up?
No, not necessarily.
How is, then explain it to me.
$3.6 million. You can take some out of that and still be equal to your funding.
Yes.
Can I try, maybe this will be. What we're trying to do right now is pass a budget. Okay, that is separate from, but related to how we're going to pay for it. Okay, but tonight, our task before us is to see if we can pass a budget. How we pay for that, if, thanks to Perry's reminding us, we have previously agreed that we're gonna follow the JPA, which means that we're gonna fund that 50-50. So when we pass this budget, we need to keep in mind that right now, unless we decide to change something, we're gonna be funding whatever we pass 50-50. Okay?
Which would be a deficit.
Which would be a deficit, at least based on the suggestions that have been made. But someone could propose something that wouldn't be a deficit. But I want to be clear, the funding and the parity issues are separate from tonight. They are related, but we're not addressing that tonight. We're just trying to get a budget passed. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay.
So where are we at?
Call the question.
Can someone repeat that question back to us, please?
Okay, so what, are we following the JPA 50-50, because we've already?
No, don't say that.
Okay.
Don't say that.
Okay, so what are we
This
saying, Nick?
was my motion. You seconded.
Yes, it's that motion.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Bring it back.
I'm gonna debate in my mind whether, I mean, I wanna drag this on forever, but if it does fail, it only takes a 50% to get there, then quickly make another motion of exactly how you would like to see the budget. And we'll debate it. Anybody, everybody can do it. Don't leave it up to just a handful of us to keep throwing stuff out there, trying to get something passed.
So thank you to Chuck for making a recommendation
Yes.
that failed. Thank you to me for making a recommendation that failed. And then if there's other ideas that others have, we would welcome those. But right now, can someone read the question that we've called for?
Okay, so, Nick?
So the motion. Budget or document?
Document.
I'd rather see the
No,
document.
it's not adopting
Say
it.
they can either.
We're not.
This is
No.
a, this
I
is
wanna
a
see the
motion
document.
to provide direction to staff to bring back 2 versions of the budget next month. One with the proposed reductions that were identified by the committee and the chief, minus the brownouts and not contributing to the reserves. And then a second version that is only the chief's suggestions, which I understood to be items, what I've labeled as 7 and 8, the $150,000 roof replacement and the $75,000 HRA.
And I think you're missing lights in both of those.
Yes, that was left out. And I would just suggest, if you don't like my motion, vote no, but come up with another one. Don't let us sit here looking at each other.
Can we clarify, is the lights in as part of your motion?
No, they were left out.
Okay, understood.
So we're just voting on what the document would look like.
Next month.
Next month, yes,
All right.
at the next meeting. Okay, roll call, please.
Director Melnick,
No.
Director Putz,
No.
Vice Chair Biro,
I'm so confused.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Director J. Rowe,
It's just the document. I want to see a document, so yes.
Director Russo,
Same thing, I wanna see the document and then yes.
Director Walsh,
No.
Director Ziegler,
No.
Director Herrick,
Am I the deciding vote on this?
No,
No.
there's too many no's already.
Okay, yes.
Director Dick,
No.
Board Chair Segovia.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Now quickly, somebody has some ideas. Throw
Well,
them out
Randy
there.
has his finger up right away, so.
So I would ask, especially from our friends from CSD, what they would like to see to make a motion.
I say, whatever we take in on our side and whatever you take in on your side, that taxpayers are paying for the fire authority, we put in.
That's not a budget.
And that's not what we voted on.
But that's not the budget. That's
That's how it
funding.
That's how it should be. whatever
So
the
you want,
tax money
but
that,
we're not discussing amending the JPA, which we already voted.
that wouldn't be amending the JPA.
That
The
would.
JPA is not just monetary,
Contributions.
it's contribution too. So
Rick just asked us to make a suggestion, we just did, and now you're saying no.
No.
Blah, blah,
Because it's
blah.
not a budget.
But we want to know how the budget is funded.
And as I mentioned before, that's not before us tonight.
Because I don't want to have a deficit.
Then propose a budget that no matter what, won't get us a deficit. An easy way to do that would be to take the existing budget and somehow identify cuts to the tune of $2 million so that it would be consistent with the JPA.
But it's not consistent with the JPA, because the JPA says contributions. We're not looking at the ambulance. I'm not gonna stop that. I'm not gonna end with that. It's gonna stay.
How about we take the budget as presented, we reduce it by $225,000 plus the $39,000 for the lights, and we call it a day. We leave it. We always have the ability to go back and amend as needed. And if we find out that, I'm not even gonna say that. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop right there.
I'm gonna
So-
second that.
Thank you.
What is the motion?
Nick, the motion is that we take the budget as presented. We reduce it by $150,000 for the roof, the $75,000 for the HRA, and the $39,500 for the lights. And that is the budget. And then we go from there.
Contribution to reserves?
Nope,
Let's not even go
we're
to
not saying
reserves.
any of that. We're
No
just-
reserves,
We'll deal with everything that entails later.
Understood.
And we have a second from Randy, I think.
Yeah.
I call for the question.
Okay, roll call, please. Do we all understand the motion? Are we clear on the motion? Want to make sure we're all clear. Okay, Chardell, roll call, please.
Director Hicks,
Aye.
Director Melnick,
Aye.
Director Puds,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bureau,
aye,
Director J-Rowe,
Aye.
Director Russo,
Yeah.
Director Walsh,
No.
Director Ziegler,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Go ahead. No, you're good, Charlie.
Thumbs up, yes?
He said yes. He
Thank
said
you.
yes.
Thank you. Director Herrick,
Aye.
Board Chair Segovia.
No.
Motion passes.
Okay.
Wow.
Sorry, Doug, can you bring it?
So we have a budget.
I did both.
Nick, or
We
Cindy,
can talk.
Excuse me, yes.
can I ask Nick a question?
Yes, you may.
So is it appropriate for me to request, I guess, give direction to staff to, as a result of this budget that we pass, come back to us with a presentation of what we still have to sort out? The ramifications of it.
Are you, wait, what are you
Would the
talking about?
finance committee do that?
Well-
What are you talking about? The funding part of it?
Yeah.
Okay, the funding
Just
part,
how,
yes.
how we move forward from here.
Yes,
Because I like what Chuck did, like, let's just get this done,
right.
but then
Now we have the funding.
we're not done
Right,
with the
No.
issue. We still have more things to work on.
yes.
So
This
can I,
just allows us to move forward.
should that be a motion?
That could be a motion.
Okay, so I'm gonna move that we give staff direction based on the approved budget that we, they come back to us with whatever related issues are to this budget that we have to sort out.
I'll second.
Okay, will the finance committee be involved in that?
Let's ask staff to come back with all of that and we can sort that out later.
So, okay, just let me clarify though, because if you say we can sort that out, if Luke and I are talking, is he supposed to be prepared to bring this back next month? Or is it something that we can decide if it's going to the finance committee or not?
Now, when do we have October?
Because we have a budget, so.
Right. But
We can tweak it however we need to now.
I think we need to make sure Luke has time to sort out the
Finances.
funding part of it and the ramifications thereof.
That's the only thing, and I can't support it, is we don't have the data yet.
Right. Yes, we
Service
need,
levels.
Exactly.
we need
We need all those bits of information so we can
Agreed.
really figure, otherwise we're just stabbing in the dark.
But to me, that would be what we have left to sort out.
so you just wanna,
I
Make
want
sure
some
that-
analysis.
yes,
Because we've kicked around all these different things. I'd like staff to come back and chief can consult with the chair and you could call for a meeting if you wanted, an ad hoc committee meeting if you need to do that. I think you can do that on your own, right?
Mhm.
I just want a report back to us saying, based on the budget that we approved, here are all the considerations we need to address.
but I just wanna,
Whatever those
I
are.
just wanna clarify, you're not expecting it next month, or are you?
I'm expecting next month a report back,
Okay.
but that might be, we still have to do this work,
Okay, okay,
whatever. I want staff to tell us the ramifications of what we just did.
okay, Luke and I and staff will work on that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any idea when that data will be back?
Was there a second for that?
Until I think January.
I second it.
After January? I thought it was supposed to be next month.
Well, so
or
there,
November.
Chief and I were talking, and the data, it didn't get to the company in a month. But I think Chief said that they tomorrow, the data will be there.
We go Pony Express or what?
I think it's computer.
Oh, yeah,
They can
that doesn't
access
help
it.
us.
Yeah, it should be, but
It's on a document that they can access. So they will have the information. We did lose a month, but they will have the information tomorrow.
okay.
All right.
Will we need a vote on that, or is that just,
We need to vote because it was a motion.
I'll call the question.
Roll call, please.
Director Herrick,
No,
Director Hicks,
Do I?
What was that?
Aye.
Oh, it was I.
Director Melnick,
Yes.
Director Putz,
Aye.
Vice Chair Biro,
I don't know what we're voting on.
That staff, chief, and myself.
Well, it should be somebody else from CST there too, though.
Well, it's not a monetary thing. We're just identifying the things that still have to be discussed and decided upon. Is that correct?
The motion was for staff to bring back a report on the ramifications of what we just passed, which would include what needs to be done, what we need to figure out, whatever. I want us, staff, to do an analysis of, here's what we still have to deal with as a result of this.
And I think did Rick vote no?
Yeah.
No.
I understand his no, because it is important that we get that report back to making decisions, so.
But he's
And
just
this
coming
is
back
Rick's
with a list
document
of
that
what needs to
we're
be
bringing back.
decided, not what the decisions are. We're not making those decisions at the next meeting, and I realize we're in the middle of a vote and are not supposed to
Yeah,
be
so
having
do you
a
understand
discussion
that any
about
better,
this.
Bob?
Yes is no?
Yes is no, no is yes.
No.
Okay, Bob's a no. B row is a no.
Director J Rowe,
Yes.
Director Russo,
Yes.
Director Walsh,
No.
Director Ziegler,
No,
Board Chair Segovia.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's just information.
It's just
Next item, please.
Please,
Okay.
that's gonna take it.
Let's move on to something
All right,
just
Less
less
controversial.
Let's
controversial.
move on, yes.
if I could, I just wanted to make sure that the presentation will be informational,
Yes.
if not actionable.
Just
It's a big
information.
Just
Yeah.
Information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
and my goal would be that we can get it done and that it's included in the agenda so that we can all digest it and we're not, we come in knowing what we're talking about. Okay. All
We
right.
may bring information, but we won't be voting.
Let's move on to FA5, regular board meeting scheduled for November 11th,
We have
2025.
FA4.
Were we on FA4?
Oh, we did. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so FA5, regular board meeting scheduled for November 11th.
So it was discovered by Board Secretary Smith that the November 12th, November 11th regular board meeting lands on Veterans Day. It's an observed administrative holiday. Staff recommends Fire Authority Board discuss further and provide direction to staff to either adjourn November meeting to the next scheduled regular meeting on December 9th or notice the meeting is canceled.
Well, we just voted on an item that's supposed to come back at the next,
October.
oh, I guess that would be
Yeah,
October.
October.
Okay, yeah, I'm rushing us ahead a month. So do we have discussion on that?
I move that we move the meeting until December 9th.
So that
Which
would
is the
be
regular.
just canceling it and moving it.
Yeah.
What's the distinguishing, what's the difference between moving it to the next meeting, which would be in essence canceling it, versus canceling it?
Thank you.
None.
So why do we have to even?
So are we adjourning it or are we, can't?
You could move it to. a
So we
different
just
day.
have to make I'm gonna make a motion that we cancel the November 12th meeting that falls on Veterans Day, and that unless something comes up, our next meeting would be December 9th.
That's it.
I'm sorry, I missed the use.
That's okay. That's,
I'll second that.
go for it. Go for it.
I'll second that.
Okay, do you have that, Chardell? And the motion and the second?
Motion to cancel, next meeting being December 9th, with first of Melnick, second with Putz.
Okay. All right.
You have to take public comment.
Oh, is there any public, I don't have any cards for this item. Okay, no public comment. Roll call, please.
Director Ziegler,
Yes.
Director Herrick,
Yes.
Director Hicks,
Aye.
Director Melnick,
Yes.
Director Putz,
Aye.
Vice Chair Biro,
Aye.
Director J. Rowe,
Aye.
Director Russo,
Yes.
Director Walsh,
Yes.
Board Chair Segovia.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes.
All right, moving on to FA6, auction of surplus fleet vehicles and miscellaneous equipment.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Okay,
I just have one question. We're on FA6, is that right?
Yes.
It says the chief will now have these personnel utilize rental vehicles for their assignments. So what is the cost associated with using rental vehicles, and why are they using rental vehicles?
Direct you that portion, Director Monk, I apologize.
Sure, it's under discussion. It's first page of the staff report, third line down under discussion.
Understood. The
Yeah.
paid call battalion chiefs, those individuals are utilized for master mutual aid assignments around the state. Basically, they would have the cost of that vehicle covered by the incident. There would be no reimbursement. So if we were sending them in a department provided vehicle, depending upon the make and model, we could recoup some funding for that. This would be the elimination of any excess vehicles. They'd use rentals and move.
Is it a cost to the fire authority for those rentals, or is it go to the incident that they're being called to? We just went through the budget, and I just want to make sure that we have money in the budget for these rental cars.
Usually there's the upfront cost associated with that with reimbursement to follow.
Okay. So it wouldn't be, we may have to pay it up front, but it would be reimbursed. Thank you, I just wanted that clarification.
okay.
Does the rental agreement involve maintenance, or that's above and beyond?
No, it'd be just like renting a vehicle from Hertz or something if you flew on vacation somewhere. Whatever the coverages are that they get.
But I've never rented a vehicle long enough that it needed to be serviced.
A lot of the individuals on our teams typically use them just to drive to the assignment, and then they're assigned to camp. Very few of them are using the vehicles outside of the incident camp, so they're pretty much parked for the 2-week duration as long as they're there. And then usually if they need to go out on Forest Service trails, the incident themselves will give them a more utility vehicle that is designed to take the abuse.
But are you renting it in anticipation so it sits out back? Or are you literally going?
No, on that
That's
basis.
one.
It happens on a Saturday when they're closed.
They're not closed. You can rent a
Never?
car every day of the
Okay.
week.
Go down to
Last time I.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? I have no cards from the public. Does anybody want to speak? Nope, okay. Roll call, please.
Director Walsh,
Yes.
Director Ziegler,
Yes.
Director Herrick,
Aye.
Director Hicks,
Aye.
Director Melnick,
Yes.
Director Putz,
Aye.
Vice Chair Biro,
Aye.
Director J-Rowe,
Aye.
Director Russo,
Yeah.
Board Chair Segovia.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to FA7. The Ad hoc Strategic Planning Committee update, possible additional revenue, Speaker Chief Whitener.
The August 26th Fire Department Strategic Planning Committee meeting was held, and we were directed, based on a motion by Director Putz, to come up with a plan for staffing the organization based on any previous standard of cover evaluation or master plan. The fire department conducted a master plan as of 2017 based on Matrix Consulting Group, and they provided the bulleted items as their recommendations at that time. That was based on current staffing, current call volumes, current equipment, stations, etc. In no particular order, the recommendations in 2017 were going to be to increase us from 2 to 3 battalion chiefs, get all of our apparatus or suppression staffing up to 3 personnel. At that time, it was only the truck here in Big Bear Lake that had 3 assigned to it. Engine 2 in Bear City, Engine 3 in Sugarloaf only had 2 people assigned to it. They had made a recommendation to add living quarters onto the Moonridge station. That would be cross-staffed with an engine company and ambulance. So typically the way we did that prior to going to the AO model is that there'd be an engineer and a firefighter would staff an ambulance, and then would have the ability to take an operating engine at a fire when they occurred. It's also going to be included in this was the new design and construction of a new Station 3 in Sugarloaf based on safety concerns with that station, and that there's a single staircase that takes you down from the 3rd floor and is not ultimately the safest model for personnel to be inhabiting that building. Final recommendation to that was to, and this is going to be based on call volumes and trigger points based on that time, but to relocate the Baldwin Lake Station down near Minnow Lane, which is southeast end of Baldwin Lake. That could accommodate up to 6, but would be staffed with 5 persons daily. As these recommendations from the board were to develop the CFD based on previous recommendations, was discussed in the ad hoc committee that we would probably tend to lie more back towards the plan that was developed within the last couple months and Model 4, in that the construction of stations and living quarters end up very expensive for the department to cover the cost. Single station, so just a replacement of Station 3, if we were doing the whole station, could be anywhere north of $8 million pretty quickly. Living quarters at Moonridge could be upwards of $1 million to $2 million. And a new station out in Baldwin Lake would also require us to purchase land. All of these things would create a CFD that, in my opinion and the opinion of the ad hoc committee, would put that CFD at a level that would kill development. It would be priced too high. With the ultimate goal of the strategic planning committee, since its inception approximately a year and a half ago roughly, was to add or increase personnel for enhanced safety, capability, and response to the community. The focus on scenario 4 was going to add 1 non-safety ambulance, a paramedic squad, and add 3 additional firefighters, 1 per shift. Total of personnel for this would be 15 personnel total. A cost total of $2.6 million, with the anticipated increase in taxes at $1.256 million, leaving a balance requiring funding of $1.4 million. The CFD, based on the cost allocation analysis for this scenario, would add $200 per hotel room per year, $1.55 per square foot on single-family dwellings, and 38 cents a foot for apartment complexes or commercial occupancies. This would ultimately add to the staffing, which again was the focus and primary goal of the strategic planning ad hoc committee. And that was the recommendation to bring back to discussion to the full board.
If I recall from the last meeting, and I wasn't at the ad hoc committee, the direction from the full board was to have more specifics about it, whether it would only apply to new construction. I know that there had been some people who had talked about only wanting it to apply to commercial development, whether it would apply to additions to homes, and that we were going to get recommendations on that. I know I had also had some questions on, and I understand that every community is different, where is the tipping point for when it has an impact on development? Haven't gotten that information. And so do we have any of those recommendations back? Because it just seems like we're being presented with, now we think it should be scenario 4, but none of the details.
The details were discussed, Director Melnick, in the previous meeting. As far as where does development typically slow, what we got back as an answer as to the average rate of CFDs is typically 1.8% of the cost of the building itself. 1.8 to 2% was what they give us as the average on that. As far as whether or not it only applies to commercial only and not residential, that would be at the discretion of the board. However, it's discovered through looking at zoning numbers from the county that between the city of Big Bear Lake and Big Bear City, the total amounts of commercially zoned lots is about 353 lots. So it doesn't leave a lot of room. Was the discussion for that as far as being commercial only. As far as whether or not it only applies to new development, that part is true. It only applies to new development. It would not be implemented or imposed on any existing structures. And then as far as additions are concerned, what typically occurs in areas that have CFDs is that the new addition portion of the structure would be an annex to the CFD, not the entire structure and the new part.
And is that the recommendation that came out of the ad hoc committee? And also the 1.8 to 2.0, do the numbers in scenario 4 fall within that?
According to the rough calculations that I could figure, yes, we were around approximately 1.5%.
And I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyway. Have we brought in any of the stakeholders who would be subject to this? Developers, the resort?
Realtors.
Well, we know we've heard from the realtors during the committee, and I'm sure we will hear from them again tonight. To have, to hear their thoughts and input on this.
The invite was not put out. I did receive a email from Michael Perry's consulting for Snow Summit regarding their hotel. And he had a question regarding would that building, which also would have a restaurant and a bar and potentially a conference room, be subjected to both parts, to which I said no, I would not recommend that. And he asked that I present that to this group, and I would think that that would be fair. Primary use of that facility would be a hotel, and that creates, in my opinion, the biggest level of risk. Again, it'd be at the discretion and discussion for the board to figure out, but I mean, the hotel itself, that's the biggest part of the building. It brings in the most people. It's the highest level of risk and potential loss of life, not the restaurant or the bar isolated on their own.
I'm sorry. I guess for me, the likelihood is the resort or somebody else is going to be, if this goes forward, the first person who has to say yay or nay. And if they're going to say nay, I'd like to know that beforehand, because that's a major impact on development in our community. And so for me, it's a worthwhile conversation to be had before we go down this road.
Well, and I think part of Randy's motion though, and because I remember him doing this at the meeting, was that we were to discuss this at this meeting and it was going to be thumbs up or thumbs down.
In terms of approving it or not?
Yes.
Yeah, so we could, again, not kick it down the road and deal with it.
Yeah. So I think we just were like, yep, let's, that was his motion and.
Question for you, Chief, if I can.
Yep.
The figures that you give here, are they today's dollars or 2060 dollars?
I believe this is based on current dollars.
Are you referring to that it would raise?
Well, supposedly the offset revenue is $1.4 million. And if that's today's dollars and everything we're talking about here is based on 2060, these numbers don't make any sense.
It's based on today dollars.
Then these numbers don't make any sense because we have no clue where we're going to be in 2060.
Right.
And also, when we look at what the costs are going to be in 2060, then this $2.6 million is probably so far off the mark that we can't see straight. And when I look at the potential property tax increase that we're going to look at over the next 15 years, given how this state functions, we're probably looking at property taxes going up 45%. So these numbers don't make any sense. They don't make any sense at all, and they don't prove anything to me, except that we are going to add more costs for folks to build properties up here, and it makes no sense. We can't get people to build up here as it is. And we're just going to increase the cost. You know, we talk about young folks not being able to live up here because they can't afford a house. Guess what? We've just made it that much worse. And the worst thing I've ever seen in my life is the Mello-Roos tax that goes on forever. It never stops. Amen. So I'll tell you right off Jump Street, I am not going to support this. Ever.
Does anybody else on the board have a comment before I go to public? Okay.
I do. So I actually agree with you, Chuck. And I want to offer the baggage that goes along with that belief, perception, whatever, which I agree with you on. And that is that the reality is this fire department is underfunded and has been for as far back as we know, right? And that's what drove the JPA, was to come together and save costs and be more efficient. And since then, we've continued to struggle financially. And I think we can all agree that we don't have the level of service that we would like. And observe tonight that when we float the idea of reducing service, listen to what happens. And, you know, we're accused that we don't understand how fire departments work. Maybe that's the case. I would also offer the general public doesn't understand how government finance works. And the reality is that the taxpayers, ultimately one way or another, fund this fire department, and they one way or another determine whether we're going to get funded more or not. So again, we can take that approach, but it's going to be difficult to sit here and listen to complaints about us having to balance our budget when it impacts service levels. So I would offer we can do this, or we cannot do this, I guess, if that is where we end up. But the cost of that is it's going to affect service. So it makes me frustrated personally when we hear, and I understand it's human nature, we want all kinds of things, we just don't want to pay for it. I get that. But it's frustrating to sit here and try and be responsible and pass a balanced budget, and how difficult that is, and then get blasted for the ramifications of that. So I just want to point out to everyone, we can do this, but there will be consequences to it. I'm not threatening anything. We don't know how that will be, but there's only this much money, whatever that money is. And we have to do our best to try and operate efficiently and, you know, all those kind of things. But we can't have unlimited service unless we have unlimited funds, and we don't have that. So I just want to make sure we're aware of that.
Are there any other board comments before I go to public comment? Okay.
Rick.
Oh, sorry, Rick.
And I know I brought this up previously, but with the fire district, since we get 15% of what comes in, I'll just use an example of a $10 million hotel. they'll pay approximately $100,000 annually in property tax, of which the fire district will get about $15,000 approximately. Whereas some of the proposals of 95 rooms times 200 equals $19,000. There's also been proposed at 100, which is $9,500. The difference is that we want to basically encourage these developments to take place because that's where the real big numbers of property tax occur, not kind of fighting for smaller dollars, which we will possibly get or possibly not get. We could just put this huge disincentive out there for these things not to be built because of the scarlet letter of Mello-Roos. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with Chuck and Randy that it's really, for me, it's a no-go math-wise. It just doesn't make sense for us to do it.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to public comment. Did Annette leave? She had. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, she was, did Tom Sitton leave?
He did.
Okay,
Regretfully.
all right, Daniel Gibranson.
Oh. Yeah, I'm leaving. This was all very lovely tonight. Thank you. I just have one question on those lights. How come CSD doesn't know whether it's been paid or not, and Big Bear Lake doesn't know if it was received or not? That seems like something that should be able to be answered quite rapidly. Big Bear's tax racket only goes one way. Always goes up, never goes down. Property taxes, sales taxes, TOTs, TBID, which I think was a bunch of baloney, for Visit Big Bear. And I'm looking into that one because that seems like a rip to me. There's a lot of fees and rentals for the ski industry, a multi-billion-dollar company here, and we can't figure out how to add it like they did with the TBD. That's just a small percentage when Big Bear Lake is the big dog. Doesn't matter if there's 5 times as many people at that end. They don't have the ski slopes. They don't have the possibility of motels because here again, the ski slopes are going to be bringing them in, all their buddies from Mammoth and Colorado. So it's going to be massive on what they do. They could do the tax just on that would be the solution. But Big Bear Lake seems to have a ton of money coming in. They seem to be spending a ton of money. And it just doesn't seem all right. This 50-50 deal just seems crazy to me. Just by appearance, it looks like it should be more like 60-40, not 50-50. Because I think Big Bear Lake kind of takes all the money and they're spending a ton of money on some of these things, some of these properties. I think they're out of control. So I'm glad to see transparency. But in reality, it was more of a theater. The public pays. We end up with the tax bill. And if we can't get some of the simple things done, no amount of money is going to help this place because I will not be for that.
Thank you, Dan.
Period.
Craig, I know I'm going to say your last name wrong. So Craig. Fourth? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
It's that J. It just
Yes.
No.
Well, good evening, members of the board, community, and Nick at BFA. It's good to see you here. My name is Craig Yorth, and I'm here to speak about the agenda item FA7, which is the ad hoc planning committee update. I understand the board is considering approving scenario 4, which would begin the establishment of a Melrose tax district in the Bear Valley. To be clear, this isn't a simple fee or even a minor adjustment. This proposed Melrose tax would add hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the annual property tax bill for homeowners and businesses in our community. These are not one-time charges. They are permanent burdens with no termination date. Homeowners would be committed to paying these taxes for decades, regardless of changes to their financial situation. The truly insidious nature of this proposal is that the Big Bear Fire Authority would have the power to increase these taxes every year without any public oversight or a vote from the very people who have to pay them. I'm also deeply concerned about how these funds will be managed. If this Melrose district is approved, our residents will have no control over how the money is spent. This raises serious questions about transparency and potential mismanagement, particularly given prior issues with budget management. As we've seen tonight, it is profoundly disappointing that of the 4 scenarios considered, the board has selected the one that imposes the highest tax rate on our community. This decision suggests a lack of consideration for the financial well-being of our residents. Finally, I must stress the most severe consequence of this tax. The Melrose tax is not just another line item on a bill. It constitutes a lien on our property. This is not a theoretical threat. A Melrose district can initiate accelerated foreclosure proceedings as early as 150 to 180 days, Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, after a payment becomes overdue. This means an agency could quickly file a lawsuit to collect unpaid amounts, and a homeowner would be forced out of their home if they can't come up with the money. Forcing a property tax lien like this in our community, which includes many disadvantaged areas, is not only financially burdensome, but also morally unprincipled. It puts our most vulnerable residents at risk of losing their homes. I urge this board to terminate discussions of a Melrose tax. Instead of putting this permanent, increasingly, and potentially devastating burden on our community, I ask that you do a better job of budget management and more aggressively pursue grants through our government representatives. These are funding options that do not adversely affect the homeowners and businesses you are meant to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is Norm Reinick still here? Okay, so he left. All right. Elaine Euthus.
Hello, I'm Elaine Euthus, and I'm a past president of the Board of Realtors here in Big Bear. And I do appreciate your, looking into this farther, because we are realtors and we do really want to protect the right to have homes up here. So I urge you to reject the Big Bear Fire Department's proposal, valley-wide Melrose on new construction. This kind of perpetual special tax is a direct drag on growth and property values. In Big Bear Valley, buyers already face high building costs and interest rates. Adding a Melrose line on all tax bills makes new homes less competitive than existing homes. Shrinking buyer pools, depressing resale comps, and slowing absorption. Across California, studies show that the Melrose can reduce a home resale value by several percentage points as buyers adjust their offers to offset the permanent extra tax burden. In smaller markets like ours, that impact is magnified. Projects stall, construction jobs disappear, and local revenue suffers. Legally, this proposal is shaky. The Melrose Act requires a defined district with a name, map, and clear rate formula. A blanket levy on all new construction valley-wide does not meet those requirements. Courts have struck down special taxes and weren't approved properly, most notably in the city of San Diego versus Shapiro in 2014, where the tax was invalidated for lack of correct voter approval. Instead of risking growth in litigation, Big Bear Fire Department should pursue targeted impact fees tied to actual service costs or a property scoped and voter approved CFD. A valley-wide Melrose is not the answer. But I do, and this is just my own thought, this is not real estate. I have just a question to help. What about, all these parking lots that are up here in Big Bear for all our people who come visit. They, you know, we want them to pay for the fire department and stuff. Why can't we just have paid parking for them? I mean, $5 a day for 7 million people, that's $35 million. Anyways, I'm back off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine.
Have a nice
Is KJ Rees still here? No? Nobody in the back room? Okay, then that is all the cards that I have. I will bring it back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
I will move that we do not approve scenario 4 as presented by the.
So-
Do you mean not approve anything
Anything.
that you don't
I
just
don't
mean
think we have to
scenario?
make a motion for
You don't?
No.
No, okay, then,
You can make a motion to kill it.
okay, I make a motion to kill it. Scenario 4.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we had 2 seconds actually, Chardell, Russo and Eric.
Can I ask for clarification? Is it a motion to not consider scenario 4 or to
No.
no longer discuss CFD?
It's no longer to discuss the CSD. Take it off the table.
Can we make a motion now that binds future activity of future board members?
No, it's just that you won't, the direction to staff would be not to continue this effort if that's
Okay.
the direction of the board. So until the board brought it back up again.
Are you good? Randy? Okay. All right,
Did you have something?
so we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Who are we giving the
Right?
second?
What's that?
Who are we giving the second to?
Oh,
There's,
I don't know. Who wants it?
John or me, doesn't matter.
John.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I mean, I
Russo.
guess, I have a question, which
Okay.
is, the strategic planning committee, ad hoc, whatever it's called, has gone through a laundry list for the last 2.5 years of trying to come up with different ways to fund. This was sort of the last piece of whatever that we threw against the wall to see if it stuck.
Yes.
So the question is now, do we go back to the drawing board and start all over again? Or is, as part of this, we're just saying the strategic, like, we're done trying to come up with ways to find additional funding sources to figure out our strategic plan? I mean,
I don't know. We had a list of, I don't know how many items, and they've slowly got ticked off, cut off one after another, so.
I mean, I understand the discussion about metal roofs, but I've only been on that committee for a year or whatever it is. Is there a development fee that has been thought through to look at the impact, a one-time fee or something else? So, because there are impacts of building large hotels in our community and large developments in our community and how those impact our fire department. And so are we just done having those discussions, and we're just gonna go, this is our budget and we're gonna work within it, and if the community wants to come up with another tax measure because they've decided that they think it's important, that then we're gonna leave it to the community to go, this is important, to push for something else?
Can I ask a theoretical question? So the assignment previously for strategic committee was, I'll say, to look for solutions, but it sounds like it was more like to look for revenue.
No, I mean, Randy, it came from your.
Yeah.
Because I've never sat on it, so.
No, Randy and I were on it from the beginning. And
Right.
we had a long
Well,
list.
we did the strategic planning part,
Yeah.
and then we said, okay, great, right? There was a plan to add more firefighters and all these wonderful things. It's like, okay, how do we pay for it? So it shifted to, okay, let's identify sources of revenue to fund the ideal coverage levels, right? And so then that launched us on this prolonged experience of beating the bushes to see if we can find income. And while I'm speaking, if I could, I would offer that, I know there are people here, there's people in the audience somewhere, I don't know what Patrice went to, but that, worked very hard on Measure I, right? And put a ballot measure before the citizens to see if they wanted to pay more for fire. While a majority said yes, 2/3 didn't, it failed, right? And so we've been around and around with different things, and I'm curious to see where this goes tonight. But I think, and you've heard me say this many times, we either have to raise the level of financing, of money to meet the desired service level, or we have to adjust the service level to the funding that we have. And it would seem to me, at least for me, it's been a decade, the resounding answer is the community wants us to adjust service levels to the funding that we have.
No, they want the service levels. I'm just gonna.
I think I know where you were going with that. So I just, again, consistent with my previous comment, anyone's welcome in the future. The community members can get together and do another ballot measure. They can form a nonprofit. I mean, there's all kinds of things if you're a concerned citizen. I would say, just from my perspective, I've been trying for 10 years, and the help of all of you and others, I haven't had success raising income. So it's not especially encouraging to me. I mean, there's a certain point where you stop beating your head against the wall.
Well, and just so the public knows, in our long list, we had several things that we were talking about, but they were incompatible because of the CSD and the city of we couldn't do these items because of the two different districts or whatever you want to call it.
City and counties can impose taxes.
Yeah.
Special districts.
So
that was
reading between the lines, you're suggesting to dissolve the.
I was just asking if that's the direction. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. I sit on that committee. I know there have been people who've sat on it for far longer than me, and they've done a whole lot of really good work trying to solve these problems. And so I just want to make sure that I understand the direction from everyone as to where we are.
Do we need a motion for that also, Nick?
Yes, and what I would say is, if the board decides not to proceed with the CFD, if there's not any major remaining items for the strategic planning committee, ad hoc committees are intended to be temporary under the Brown Act. This one has sort of been sort of still providing public meetings, so there's been public opportunity to attend the ad hoc, but periodically for ad hocs, you do wind them down once the mission has been completed or moved on. So if there is an affirmative vote on this motion, I probably would recommend the board consider disbanding the ad hoc.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted that clarification.
Yeah, and I agree with that. All right. So
I'll throw out something, just thinking way in the future. It might be interesting as future technologies develop 5, 10, 20 years down the road. I mean, we might have firefighting drones that take off from here. I don't know. That would be the only reason why I possibly would see holding on to it at this point. But I know it's way down the road, but anyways.
yeah, we could reestablish it.
Yeah.
So.
Should I move to create a drone committee?
Yes.
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I already know Munsey's actually working on that.
Is it really?
Yes, he
Oh,
is.
that was my idea.
Yeah, no, they've actually tested a drone. Yes.
I'm cleared to fly drones for the sheriff's department, so I can help you out anytime.
I'll call the question.
Okay, does everybody understand the motion? All right, roll call, please.
Director Russo,
No.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
Director Ziegler,
No.
Director Herrick,
Aye.
Director Hicks,
Aye.
Director Melnick,
Aye.
Director Putz,
Aye.
Vice Chair Biro,
Aye.
Director J-Rowe,
Aye.
Board Chair Segovia.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Now, do we need a motion to disband the ad hoc committee?
I would recommend.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
I'll second it. Okay, clever second. I just seconded as a member of the ad hoc. So, it was, who was it? I'm like losing it. It was Melnick and Herrick.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
What was the
To
motion?
disband the ad hoc strategic planning committee. Okay, roll call, please.
Director Jero,
Aye.
Director Russo,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
Director Ziegler,
Aye.
Director Herrick,
Aye.
Director Hicks,
Aye.
Director Melnick,
Aye.
Director Putz,
Aye.
Vice Chair Biro,
Aye.
Board Chair Segovia.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. All right, do we have any directors' closing comments?
Just one.
Okay.
It's actually going back to the fire authority, maybe just a correction of the titles of committee board members for the finance committee.
Oh, are they?
Thank you for coming.
Your vice chair.
Oh, okay, this is the
Larry is still chair, and we have a new vice chair and a chair.
Yeah.
Anyways, just
Okay. I'll get with you, Chardell, on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other closing comments?
Yes.
Okay. Director Walsh.
It seems that we tell the public we cannot respond to them as board members. Yet, we get people responding. My thinking would be that rather than get into a diatribe, wait until these final comments, and then you could say, no, I didn't do that, or yes, I did, and remember we did vote, that kind of thing. Rather than slow things down at the moment, wait.
So you're talking about board members?
Anytime there's public comment, and we've been told we're not supposed to respond,
To comment.
then hold your response until
I'll just,
the end.
from my experience, and from what I've been legally told by our attorneys, is that we are allowed to give a quick response back, especially if it's something incorrect that's been stated, as long as we limit it to, I don't know how many seconds, but
A short
response. It's very legal and very appropriate to do.
But to your point, Larry, we want to avoid in these situations back and forth dialogue.
Yeah, you mean back and
It
forth.
deteriorates once it starts.
Yes, you don't want that.
And Kendi,
Yes.
I spoke to the chief earlier about, when we go around and looking at fire prevention and we have the folks go out and inspect properties, I've been receiving some phone calls about, again, I think as usual, hey, we're told that we have to clear our property, we get a citation, and we're not given an opportunity to clear it, so then we have a fine that's imposed on us. And again, I'd just like for us to think if there's some way we can, and I know the warning's gone out, I know people have been advised for the last 2 years that, hey, you need to clean up your properties, you need to make sure they're clean. But with the sheer numbers of people that we have living off the hill, in both the CSD area and in the lake, I mean, if there's some way we can, hey, here's your final warning, you've got X number of days to clean this up, and if you don't, then we hit you with the fine. If we can look to that, maybe think about that in the future and possibly put that on the agenda, I'd like to think about it.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is.
There's a lot of history that goes.
No, I understand that.
Could we bring that back as an agenda item?
Yeah, I mean.
To like how we got there?
Well, right, and maybe get an update on how we're doing and revisit that whole thing?
That's fine with me. I just, again, bring it up because constituents have called me about it, so.
Can I suggest, because our meetings go fairly lengthy, that before we do that you sit down with the chief and maybe a battalion chief and get kind of the history behind it, because it took us a long time to get to the point where we're at now with a lot of discussion regarding that. And then at that point, if you see a reason to bring it back, or if it's fully explained, you don't have to bring it back. I don't mind bringing it back if there's a point to bring it back. If you understand what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll go with that.
I'll go with that. Thank you.
All right. All right. Any other? No? Okay. I'm going to, you're looking at me funny. Okay.
I'm waiting so
okay.
He looks that way all the time.
Nick is looking at you funny.
Are you looking at me funny?
Do we have any public comments on closed session before we go?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yes. Come on up.
That's a funny look.
I'm totally new to this. I've never done anything like this, and I appreciate you guys listening to me. I am a small contractor up here, and I build spec homes. That's the exact thing that I do. And so for me, the Melrose tax was a terrible idea because I'm not gonna go build a new house and expect someone to come and buy that house when they can buy the neighbor's house when they don't have that tax. So I thought that it was targeting such a very small group of people. I'm on board for saying, hey, you know what, if we have to pay a one-time fee to build a new house, that's okay, but to do a Melrose tax and to extend it, I think that that's wrong. I appreciate it. My next door neighbor is an LA City retired fireman, so I understand the fire department, but I just thank you guys for shooting that idea down, and hopefully we can come up with a better idea because that directly affects me and my family. So I appreciate you guys shooting it down for now.
Thanks for your comments. Thank you. Okay, any other public comment?
This is on closed session.
Yeah.
Board Chair Segovia, do you have that gentleman's name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Could we have your name, please, for the minutes?
I'm sorry, Joel Klein.
Joel Klein,
Yes.
C-L or K-L?
K-L-E-I-N.
K-L-E-I-N.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, any other comment on closed session? No. Okay, I am adjourning this meeting for closed session where we will discuss conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, and public
Nope,
employment.
you can come through. We're not in closed session
Title
yet.
board secretary,
Come on
closing
through.
at 8:17.